Hello, I'm Emma, a 36-year-old mom to a wonderful 7-year-old named Andrew. Recently, my life has been pretty chaotic, and it's all because of my lousy ex-husband. You know the type, the one you wish you'd dealt with a long time ago. That's him. We met in college and went through some big life events together. We graduated, moved to Chicago, and supported each other when we first got jobs. We built a life together, but I don't want to overstate things. Josh has always been an average guy. He wasn't super successful or rich. We got together when I was in a vulnerable place because my mom had been diagnosed with cancer. Josh came along at that time and gave me the support I needed. Then, on one memorable Thanksgiving, Josh surprised everyone by getting down on one knee and proposing. It was a beautiful moment. I said yes, and we decided to get married. As a wedding gift, my parents gave us a mansion they owned. It was an amazing gesture and a great start to our life together as husband and wife. Then we had Andrew, our baby boy. Becoming a mom gave me clarity about my life and purpose, but Josh seemed lost. While I thrived in my well-paying job, Josh was struggling. He jumped from one job to another, never staying at one for more than a month. Our relationship hit a rough patch. At first, I thought things would get better, but I noticed subtle changes in Josh's behavior. He seemed unhappy with his financial situation. I earned more than him, which shouldn't have been an issue, but it hurt his ego. One day, I found some clues that suggested Josh was involved in illegal activities. I couldn't confront him directly because I knew he'd feel attacked and get defensive. I knew the company he worked for and was surprised by how much money he seemed to be making. It just didn't add up. It felt like I was walking on eggshells around him, and it was really tough. Finally, I had enough. One evening, I got the courage to have a serious talk with him. To my surprise, he didn't get defensive. He admitted to the illegal stuff and his messed up reasons for doing it. He told me he'd been using the company's credit cards for his own expenses and embezzling money. He said it hurt his ego that I earned more than him, and that we lived in a house that was mine, not his. When Andrew was born, things got even worse for him. He felt ashamed that he wasn't the one providing for our family, and he got tangled up in embezzlement to make more money. His confession about the illegal activities was the final blow to our already fragile relationship. My priority was Andrew, my sweet little boy. I couldn't stand the thought of him growing up with a father involved in criminal activities. Josh was not the role model I wanted for him, and I was scared of the consequences of Josh's actions on our family. Who knew what he would do next and how it would affect our lives? I couldn't take that risk, especially with Andrew's future at stake. I wanted the best for my son, Andrew, so I did what any mother would do. We got a divorce and shared custody of Andrew. Breaking free from the toxic situation we were in was scary, but it was also freeing. It's been a smooth year and a few months since the divorce, and things were going well. We had a system. Josh would take Andrew on weekends, and we kept communication minimal. Josh mentioned getting married again, and honestly, if he finds someone who makes him happy, that's his business. Our divorce wasn't even that messy. So it was just an ordinary Monday morning. Andrew got on the school bus, and I started my day. I did some chores and took our dog, Archer, for a walk. Just typical mom stuff. I work as a social media manager for a lifestyle magazine, so I mostly work from home, except for 2 days in the office. I was in my study, getting into my work groove, when I heard a woman's voice calling my name from downstairs. It didn't sound like any of my close friends dropping by for a surprise visit. I went downstairs and there she was, a blonde woman who had barged into my house. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her at first. Then it hit me, it was Claire, Josh's new wife. Emma, finally. I think we need to talk. Oh, hi, Claire. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but go ahead. So how long do you plan on staying here? I mean, okay, Josh helped you out at first because you're the mother of his child and because Andrew is with you. But I think it's time you figured out your stuff. It's been months. Hold up. What are you talking about, Claire? I'm just tired of living in a tiny apartment. It's cramped and I couldn't even invite my family and friends over for Christmas. It's really tough to make memories in such a small space. I can see why you and Andrew love it here. It's like a dream home. But the truth is, this place belongs to Josh, and he's been kind enough not to say anything about it. Still, I want a fresh start, a new life right here. I just want us to find a solution that works for everyone. Maybe we could look for a place nearby, somewhere where you and Andrew could still have stability, and I could create a home with Josh. You need to leave. Who told you that, Claire? This house belongs to me. I inherited it from my parents. No need to hide it from me. Josh already told me how you've been spreading rumors that the house is yours and badmouthing him for not being successful. I don't know what's going on between you two, but talking negatively about a guy who's letting you stay under his roof? And think about your son. What kind of picture are you painting of his dad? Hold on, Claire. I'm curious. Who's been telling you all this? Let me set things straight. This house is definitely mine, and honestly, Josh is the last person I want to talk about. But Josh said that he owns this place and that it's his. Why would I lie to you? I can show you the paperwork that proves this house is mine. When I got married, my parents gifted me this place and made me the owner. And as for getting my life together, I already have a job that supports me and my son. I don't know what to believe anymore. I was pretty sure Josh had kept Claire in the dark about the house's ownership. Do you have some time, Claire? Yes, I do. Great, let's sit down and have a chat. Can I get you something to drink? Coffee, tea, maybe some water. A cup of tea would be nice. Claire followed me into the living room and sat on the couch. I headed upstairs to find the paperwork, understanding that Claire needed proof, and I couldn't blame her. Who knows how long Josh had been lying to her about the house? After finding the documents, I returned to the living room and handed them to Claire. While she looked through the paperwork, I prepared some hot peppermint tea for us. I'm sorry for blaming you like that, Claire said. It's not an excuse, but you have no idea about the things Josh has been saying about you. What kind of things has he been saying? I asked. All kinds of stuff, Claire replied. He said you were suspicious and crazy during your marriage, and that he had to divorce you because he couldn't handle it anymore. He even pretends to be concerned about Andrew having a mom like you. Josh has been spreading a false story to me and everyone else, claiming that he owns this mansion. According to him, after the divorce, you were struggling and needed time to get back on your feet. As a supposed act of kindness, he offered you this place to stay. He's been boasting about this at dinner parties with his work friends and on vacations with my family. It's like he's turned it into his favorite topic whenever someone mentions you or the divorce. He even said he gave you warning signs, implying that you were clinging to the house. I couldn't believe the rumors Josh had been spreading about me. He was totally trashing my reputation, making it seem like I was a helpless mess after the divorce, relying on his so-called kindness for support. To be honest, I never really doubted Claire for a second. Josh had always been a shady character with his own secrets. The main reason for our separation was because of his involvement in white-collar crimes. Back then, I was still kind of hung up on him, which made me hesitant to expose him. I thought I was in love, but looking back, I definitely made a mistake. I was in a tough spot when it came to Josh. I didn't want him anywhere near our son, but at the same time, I didn't want to see him end up in prison. So I made an excuse about growing out of the relationship and decided to leave quietly. But finding out he's been acting all high and mighty, going around like he's my knight in shining armor, I wasn't going to let that slide. I decided to lay everything out in the open. Claire, there's something you need to know. I'm not sure what Josh told you about why we separated, but I haven't been completely honest with you either. What do you mean, Emma? You see, Josh was involved in embezzlement. Yeah, it was a tough situation. I confronted Josh about his actions, and he finally confessed to using his company's credit card for his own personal use. I was torn between wanting to protect him and feeling the need to do what was right. In the end, I decided not to turn him into the police, but I think he got away with it. Wait, Emma, you're saying Josh, my husband, got tangled up in freaking embezzlement? Seriously. I can't even wrap my head around that. I know, I didn't believe it either. I wanted to protect Andrew from all of this. Josh was still my husband, and I couldn't bring myself to turn him in, but I did what I thought was best for Andrew. I didn't want him to grow up with a father involved in illegal activities. I had to put his safety and future first. Wait, what if he's still pulling off fraud? He never got caught for what he did. If he's not been caught, he's probably still at it. This is blowing my mind. I mean, this is the guy I married. Wow, sorry, I'm just processing all of this. It's a lot to handle. I need to figure out if he's still tangled up in that mess. We can't just let it slide this time. Well, I can think of a plan. Isn't Josh's birthday in 2 weeks? Yes, it is. I've got a genius plan to finally expose him to everyone, Claire. You won't believe the epic idea I've got, so picture this. What if you ask Josh if we could throw his birthday bash at, well, let's just call it his mansion, you know my place. Use all your powers of persuasion until he can't resist saying a big fat yes. We'll invite all his work buddies, basically everyone he's ever met. And then comes the piece de resistance. We'll drop a super special announcement and give him his birthday surprise. Count me in. Take down my number. Claire totally nailed convincing Josh about the big party because when Josh came to pick up Andrew for their weekend together, he asked me about it. Hey Emma, I need to ask you for a favor. Of course, Josh, what is it? Well, Claire wants to throw a big birthday celebration for me, and she wants to invite all my coworkers, her family, and pretty much everyone she knows. The thing is, our place is like a sardine can, and it's just not going to fit all those people, so I was wondering if you'd be willing to let us use your mansion for the party? Andrew would be thrilled about the idea as well. Josh was completely oblivious to the trap we had set for him. Little did he know that he was walking right into our carefully crafted plan. All right, Josh, I'll think about it. The mansion is available, but I'll need to check with work to see if I can get the day off. I'll let you know. Thanks, Emma, Josh said. And there's something else. I know it's a big favor to ask, but could you pretend that the mansion is mine during the party? It would be embarrassing in front of my coworkers and in-laws if they found out I had to borrow your place. I don't want to look like a total loser and maybe let's not tell Claire about it either. Typical Josh. Well, I don't know, Josh. That seems like a pretty huge thing to keep a secret. I'll have to think about it, but I can't guarantee anything. I know, it's a bit of a stretch. But just think about it. I'd owe you a lot if you'd help me out. Well, I've got to go now. Just text me and let me know, okay? Bye. And just like that, everything fell into place. I texted Claire, letting her know that the plan was a go, and asked her to send out the invites to everyone for Josh's big day. A few days later, I gave Josh the green light to celebrate his birthday at my place and promised to keep his little secret. The big day had finally arrived, Josh's birthday. He walked in with Claire, and we acted all casual, but little did he know that we had a whole plan brewing behind the scenes. Andrew was pumped to see his dad, but I couldn't ignore the hurt and betrayal I felt. I had protected Josh and kept his secrets, and in return he spread lies about me and our marriage. I was done being the good guy, and it was time to change that. As the guests started rolling in, I couldn't help but observe Josh putting on his charming act, trying to look perfect and flawless. But little did he know that his lies were about to be exposed. All of his friends, coworkers, and family members filled my house, totally clueless about what was going to happen. Finally, when almost everyone had arrived, Claire and I gathered everyone around. Hey everyone, so we're all gathered here to give a shout out to Josh today. But if we're going to raise a glass to the guy, it's only fair that you know what he's really about. It's easy to talk smack and spread gossip, but believe me, the truth has a way of showing up. Now, you might be curious about how Claire and I, the ex and the current wife, can actually get along. Well, here's the lowdown. We've both been through the Josh experience, and he has been fooling us around. Josh jumped in. Whoa, hold up, Emma, what's going on? Did you maybe hit the drinks a bit too hard? No worries, everyone, you can just go back to whatever you were up to. I have the situation under control. Hey Josh, just give her a chance to speak, Claire said. I know Josh might have been running his mouth and spreading lies about me, making me look like the crazy one for divorcing him or whatever. But let me set the record straight. There is only one reason why I left him, and that is because he was involved in some shady fraud. Thanks to Claire, the truth came out. Josh has been yapping about how this mansion belongs to him. Well, newsflash, it's actually mine. I've been working to raise my kid while Mr. Fraud over here has been stealing money from companies. The truth behind why I split with Josh is that he was mixed up in embezzlement. I didn't have the guts to call him out on it before, but I'm not holding back anymore. Claire, I don't know what Emma's been telling you, but I promise you it's not what you think. You guys, there's been a mistake, Josh said, trying to regain control. Cut the crap, Josh, Claire snapped. Emma's been real with me, and I know all about your sketchy stuff. It's hard to believe I fell for your stories. Seriously, did you marry me just because you needed a new crash pad after Emma gave you the boot? Well, people, just so you know, the authorities are in the loop, and they'll be showing up any moment. It looks like the party's a no-go today. Seeing as this is my place and not Josh's, you're all free to take off. Are you for real, Emma? You wrecked everything for me. And Claire, seriously, you were in on this? How could you go behind my back with my ex-wife? You too, I'm out of here. The cops are on their way, Josh. It might be a good move to get your lawyer to sort this out, I said. And that's how I finally took care of what needed to be done a long time ago. From what I heard from Claire, there was an ongoing investigation into Josh, and he was found guilty of stealing from the company he used to work for. And not just that, the company he was currently working for also discovered some unexplainable changes in their accounting records. It turns out he was still up to his old tricks, stealing from people. As a result, he had to pay a hefty fine of $110,000 and is now facing a 2-year prison sentence. I tried to shield Andrew from all this for as long as I could, but eventually I had to tell him the truth about his dad and how he wasn't a good man. It has been tough on him, and he still misses his dad at times, but he understands the situation. Exposing Josh and bringing his shady activities to light has been like lifting a weight off my shoulders. I feel so much more liberated now. It's true that sometimes you want to trust people and give them a second chance because everyone deserves one, right? But then there are people like Josh who just don't change. I'm fully embracing my life as a single mom. My priority is Andrew's happiness and well-being, and I won't let anyone drive us down again. My friendship with Claire has been comforting too. It's funny how life can lead to unexpected friendships. It's like I finally dealt with my unfinished business and moved on.
The steady beep of the heart monitor was the only sound in the room as I held my mother's hand, watching her chest rise and fall with each labored breath. The hospice nurse had said it would be soon, but I wasn't ready. I don't think anyone ever is. My name is Naomi, and I'd spent the last 3 years of my life in this house, caring for my mother as cancer slowly consumed her. While my sister Skylar chased her dreams in New York and my father buried himself in his work, I learned the intimate choreography of caring for someone you love, changing sheets, measuring medications, and memorizing the small signs that indicated good days from bad. Naomi? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Water, please. I held the straw to her cracked lips, supporting her head. Her once vibrant brown eyes, now clouded with morphine, found mine. My sweet girl, she murmured, you've given up so much. Don't talk like that, Mom. I'm exactly where I need to be. The doorbell rang, making me jump. My best friend Daisy's familiar voice called up the stairs. Naomi, I brought dinner. Up here, I called back, grateful for her constant presence these past months. Daisy appeared in the doorway, carrying a paper bag that smelled of chicken soup. Her smile faltered when she saw Mom's ashen face. How is she? Before I could answer, heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Skylar burst in, designer handbag swinging, our father Gerard close behind. My stomach clenched. They hadn't visited in months. Why now? The doctor called, Skylar announced, not even looking at Mom. Said it was time. I've been trying to reach you for days, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Some of us have actual careers to manage, Skylar snapped, pulling out her phone. Kaysen, baby, I made it. Yes, she's still hanging on. Dad moved to the window, his back to the bed. Have you contacted the funeral home? She's not gone yet, I protested, but Mom's hand suddenly gripped mine with surprising strength. Naomi, she whispered, her eyes clearing for a moment. The blue book. Remember? Her words trailed off as the monitor's steady beep became a single, sustained tone. Mom? My voice cracked. Mom, please. Daisy's arms wrapped around me as the hospice nurse rushed in. Time blurred. I barely registered the nurse pronouncing the time of death, or Skylar's theatrical sobs as she filmed herself for social media. Well, Dad said, straightening his tie, We need to get things in order. Naomi, you should pack your things. I looked up, still dazed. What? Skylar put her phone away, her tears mysteriously gone. You heard him. Your services are no longer needed. We'll handle everything from here. But this is my home. I've lived here, taking care of Mom. Out of the goodness of your heart, I'm sure, Skylar sneered. But let's be realistic. You get nothing. Mom never changed her will, and Dad agrees. The house goes to me. Gerard, Daisy interjected, you can't just throw her out. Dad finally turned from the window. Naomi made her choice. She chose to play nurse instead of building a life. Actions have consequences. I stood on shaking legs, Daisy's supportive hand on my arm. The room that had been my whole world for 3 years suddenly felt foreign. As I packed a small bag, my movements mechanical, I noticed something peculiar. A cream-colored envelope, my name written in Mom's elegant handwriting, protruding from her favorite blue book on the nightstand. I'll help you pack, Daisy whispered, positioning herself between me and my sister's cold stare. I slipped the envelope into my pocket without anyone noticing. Whatever it contained, I knew it was meant for me alone. Mom had always been methodical, always thinking ahead. As I walked down the familiar stairs one last time, Skylar's voice floated after me. Don't forget to leave your key. We're changing the locks tomorrow anyway. I stepped out into the cool evening air, clutching my bag. Behind me, I could hear Skylar already on the phone, planning what she called a celebration of life that sounded more like a networking event. Daisy squeezed my hand, her presence anchoring me to reality. You can stay with me, she said firmly. We'll figure this out. I nodded, my hand touching the envelope in my pocket. Mom's last message to me was there, waiting. Whatever came next, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. 3 days after Mom's death, I stood on the sidewalk outside my childhood home, watching people stream in through the front door. Skylar had wasted no time organizing what she called a memorial gathering, though from where I stood, it looked more like a cocktail party. You don't have to do this, Daisy said beside me, squeezing my arm. We can leave. I need to try one more time, I replied, straightening my simple black dress. I at least need to get Mom's photo albums. We walked up the path I'd traveled thousands of times. The door was open, but a burly man in a security uniform blocked our way. Names? I'm Naomi. This was my home until 3 days ago. I lived here with my mother. He checked his tablet. Not on the list. Sorry. Are you kidding me? Daisy stepped forward. She's the deceased's daughter. There must be some mistake, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. My sister Skylar is right here. Skylar appeared in the doorway, champagne flute in hand. And there's no mistake. You're not welcome. I could see past her into the house. Everything had changed. Mum's favorite armchair was gone, replaced by some modern monstrosity. The walls, once covered in family photos, were now bare. What have you done with Mom's things? I asked, my throat tight. Decluttering, Skylar smiled, taking a sip of champagne. Kason says minimalism is in. Her fiancé materialized behind her, all white teeth and expensive cologne. Skylar, darling, people are asking about the property investments. Should I tell them about our plans for renovation? You're going to sell the house? I stepped forward, but the security guard moved to block me. Actually, Kason said, we're thinking boutique bed and breakfast. The market's perfect right now. Mom loved this house, I protested. She wanted it to stay in the family. And it will, Skylar smirked. Just the successful part of the family. Aunt Hannah emerged from the crowd inside, her face falling when she saw me. Oh, Naomi dear, I didn't know you'd be here. She's not staying, Skylar said firmly. She's just leaving. Hannah, please, I appealed to her. You know this isn't right. You saw how I cared for Mom. Now. Hannah shifted uncomfortably. These things are complicated. Your father and sister have the legal right. Legal right, Daisy interrupted. What about moral right? What about basic human decency? Dad appeared then, looking annoyed. Enough of this scene. Naomi, grow up. The will is clear. The house and everything in it belongs to Skylar now. I just want Mom's photos, I said, hating how small my voice sounded. Please. Already digitized and stored in the cloud. Skylar waved her hand dismissively. Very eco-friendly. Now if you'll excuse us, we have actual mourners to attend to. The security guard took a step forward. I backed away, feeling the eyes of arriving guests on me. Some I recognized, old family friends, neighbors, but they all quickly looked away, hurrying past into the warmth and music of the house. This isn't over, Daisy called as Skylar turned away. You can't erase someone's entire existence. Watch me, Skylar replied without turning back. We retreated to Daisy's car, parked across the street. Through the windows, I could see people mingling, laughing, raising glasses. It looked like a networking event, not a memorial. We should call the police, Daisy suggested, gripping the steering wheel. They'll side with the will, I said quietly. Dad made sure of that. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. When I answered, a familiar voice spoke. Naomi, this is Ken Griffin, your family's lawyer. We need to talk. Ken? I thought you weren't handling the estate anymore. Skylar said. What Skylar said doesn't matter, Ken interrupted. Your mother left something with me, something important. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? I felt the envelope from Mom's book pressing against my chest, where I'd been carrying it these past days, still unopened. Yes, I said. What time? 8 a.m. And Naomi? Don't tell anyone about this meeting, especially not your sister or father. The call ended. Daisy looked at me expectantly. Ken wants to meet, I said, watching another group of guests arrive at the house, bearing expensive-looking gifts. Tomorrow morning. Good, Daisy started the car. Because this is just sick. Your mom would be horrified. I touched the envelope through my dress, thinking of Mom's last words about the blue book. For the first time since her death, I felt a spark of something other than grief. Mom wasn't stupid, I said slowly. She saw exactly who Skylar and Dad were. Maybe she did something about it. As we drove away, I didn't look back at the house. Tomorrow would bring answers, and maybe, just maybe, a chance at justice. Ken's office hadn't changed in 20 years. Same leather chairs, same oak desk, same wall of law books. He stood as I entered, his face grave. Naomi, thank you for coming. He gestured to a chair. I assume you brought the envelope? I froze. How did you know about that? Your mother told me to expect it. He sat down, adjusting his reading glasses. She left very specific instructions. I pulled out the envelope, still sealed. I haven't opened it. Good. We'll need to record this. He placed a small camera on his desk. Your mother insisted everything be documented. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a USB drive. The note read, My dearest Naomi, if you're reading this, they did exactly what I feared they would. Show them who you really are. Love, Mom. Ken plugged the USB drive into his computer and turned the monitor so I could see. Mom's face filled the screen. Not the gaunt, pain-riddled face I remembered from her final days, but Mom from 6 months ago, still strong enough to sit up and speak clearly. Hello, my loves, she began. Or should I say, hello, Naomi, and hello to whoever else is watching this recording of my last will and testament. I caught my breath. Ken squeezed my hand. First, to my daughter Skylar and my husband Gerard, Mom continued, her voice hardening. I've watched you plot and scheme, thinking I was too weak or medicated to notice. The whispered phone calls about property values, the meetings with other lawyers, trying to find loopholes. The way you both disappeared when things got difficult, leaving my sweet Naomi to shoulder everything alone. She leaned forward, her eyes fierce. Did you really think I wouldn't plan for this? That I would leave Naomi unprotected? Ken, I whispered, what is this? Keep watching, he said softly. To those witnessing this recording, Mom continued, I, Rose, being of sound mind, hereby declare this my final will and testament, superseding all previous versions. To my daughter Skylar, I leave my wedding ring, the one you always coveted. To my husband Gerard, I leave my grandmother's antique watch, since time was always more precious to you than family. She paused, taking a deep breath. Everything else, the house, my personal accounts, my investments, and the controlling interest in the family business, I leave to my daughter Naomi, who gave up everything to care for me without complaint or expectation of reward. I covered my mouth, tears flowing freely now. Furthermore, Mom's voice grew stronger, I require this will to be read publicly in our family home with no fewer than 30 witnesses present, including all extended family members, our closest friends, and the partners from Gerard's firm. Any attempt to contest this will or prevent the public reading will result in everything being donated to charity instead. She can't do this, I whispered. Skylar said the will Skylar and your father are using, Ken interrupted, is 3 years old. This one, recorded 6 months ago, is legally binding. I had 2 colleagues witness it, and your mother was evaluated by 3 separate doctors to confirm her mental competency. On screen, Mom's expression softened. Naomi, my darling girl, I saw every sacrifice, every moment of kindness, every time you put my needs before your own. Now it's time for you to live your life. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them make you feel small. You are stronger than they know. She smiled, that warm, knowing smile I missed so desperately. Ken has all the necessary documentation, including proof of your father's attempts to hide assets and Skylar's forged documents. Use it wisely. The video ended. I sat in stunned silence while Ken pulled out a thick folder. The public reading is scheduled for Saturday, he said. Your mother paid for everything in advance. The venue, the catering, even the videographer. She wanted it to be an event no one could ignore or deny. They'll fight it, I said. Let them try. Ken's eyes glinted. Your mother built an ironclad case, but be prepared, they won't go down quietly. What do I do now? Go home to your home, he emphasized. I'll have the locks changed within the hour. Your mother left instructions for everything, including how to handle the inevitable backlash. As I stood to leave, Ken called after me. Naomi, your mother said to tell you one more thing. The blue book wasn't just for the envelope. Check page 82. I hurried out, my mind racing. The blue book was still at the house, if Skylar hadn't thrown it away. For the first time since Mom's death, I felt a surge of determination. They thought they could erase me, dismiss me, throw me away. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The locksmith finished changing the locks just as Skylar's Mercedes screeched into the driveway. She exploded out of the car, Kaysen trailing behind her. What do you think you're doing? She shrieked, stabbing her finger at the locksmith. I stood on the porch, Ken's documentation clutched in my hand. This is my house now, Skylar. Legal papers were served to Dad's office an hour ago. You little snake! She lunged forward, but Kaysen held her back. You really think you can steal what's rightfully mine? Nothing was stolen, I replied, my voice steady. Mom left it to me, legally. The public reading is Saturday. Public reading? Kaysen's grip on Skylar loosened. What public reading? Oh, you'll love it, I said, surprising myself with my calmness. Mom invited everyone. Dad's law partners, Aunt Hannah, all our cousins. Even your parents, Kaysen. Skylar's face went white. You can't. Actually, I can. And if anyone tries to stop it, everything goes to charity. Mom was very specific about that. My phone buzzed, a text from Daisy. Coming over with reinforcements. Hang tight. Skylar must have seen something change in my expression. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. You think you've won? You think you can humiliate me in front of everyone? I'll destroy you. You already tried that, I replied. How'd that work out? A police cruiser pulled up, followed by Daisy's car. 2 officers stepped out, along with Daisy and, surprisingly, Aunt Hannah. Everything okay here? One officer asked, eyeing Skylar's aggressive stance. Fine, I said. My sister was just leaving. Like hell I am! Skylar spun toward Hannah. Tell them how pathetic she is, how she's trying to steal everything. Hannah wouldn't meet her eyes. I've seen the will, Skylar. The real will. Rose showed it to me months ago. You knew? Skylar's voice cracked. You knew and you didn't warn us? I tried, Hannah said quietly. I told your father to be careful, to treat Naomi fairly. He wouldn't listen. Officers, Kaysen stepped forward, all smooth charm. Surely there's something irregular about this will. Perhaps we could... Save it, Daisy cut in. Everything's legal. The only irregular thing here is how you people treated Naomi after Rose died. The officers exchanged glances. Ma'am, one addressed Skylar, we have orders to enforce the property rights. You'll need to leave. This isn't over, Skylar hissed, but she let Kaysen lead her toward the car. As they pulled away, she rolled down her window. Watch your back, little sister. You have no idea what's coming. Once they were gone, Hannah touched my arm. I'm so sorry, Naomi. I should have done more. Why didn't you? Fear, she admitted. Your father, he knows things about everyone. He uses it to keep people in line. Well, I said, Mom knew things too, and on Saturday, everyone else will know them as well. The officers left after confirming I was okay. Daisy helped me inside, where boxes of Mom's belongings still sat, waiting to be decluttered. The blue book, I muttered, diving into the nearest box. It has to be here somewhere. What blue book? Hannah asked. Mom's favorite. The one she always kept by her bed. I emptied another box. Skylar must have packed it somewhere. We searched for hours. As sunset approached, Daisy found a note tucked into one of Mom's journals. Looking for something? Better hurry. Trash pickup is tomorrow morning. S. The dumpster. I ran outside to the large waste bin Skylar had ordered for her renovations. There, on top of a pile of memories and mementos, sat Mom's blue book. Back inside, I turned to page 82. A small key taped to the page fell into my hand, along with another note. Safety deposit box 847. Everything you need is there. Love, Mom. Your mother? Hannah said softly. She saw everything, didn't she? Yes, I replied, pocketing the key. And soon everyone else will too. My phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. Careful what you wish for. Some secrets should stay buried. Ignore it, Daisy said firmly. They're desperate. But later that night, after everyone had gone, I sat in Mom's old room, surrounded by boxes of her life, and wondered, was I ready for what Saturday would bring? Mom had given me the weapons for this war, but using them would change everything, and everyone, forever. The house creaked, familiar and strange all at once. Somewhere in the darkness, a clock ticked down to Saturday, to the moment when all the careful lies would finally unravel. I touched the key in my pocket. Tomorrow, I'd visit the bank. Tomorrow, I'd learn just how deep this rabbit hole went. And Saturday? Saturday would be a day no one in this family would ever forget. Saturday arrived with the weight of an approaching storm. The living room was packed, every seat filled, people standing along the walls. Dad's law partners sat stiffly in the front row, while Skylar and Kaysen huddled near the back, whispering furiously. Ken stood beside the large TV screen we'd set up, clearing his throat. Thank you all for coming. As per Rose's final wishes, we're here for the public reading of her last will and testament. This is ridiculous, Dad interrupted, standing up. I have the will right here. Sit down, Gerard. Ken's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Your version of the will has been legally superseded. Aunt Hannah slipped into the seat next to me. Are you ready for this? I nodded, clutching the folder from the safety deposit box. Inside were photographs, bank statements, and letters. Mom's insurance policy against exactly this moment. Ken pressed play. Mom's face appeared on screen, and the room fell silent. If you're watching this, she began, then my family has shown their true colors. Gerard, my dear husband, did you really think I wouldn't find out about the offshore accounts? The money you've been hiding since before Naomi was born? Dad's face went pale. His partners turned to stare at him. Skylar, my ambitious daughter. Those documents you forged? My signature on the property transfer papers? I kept copies. They're with Ken now, along with surveillance footage of you practicing my signature. Kaysen slowly moved away from Skylar, who had begun to shake. But this isn't just about money, Mom continued. This is about love, about choices. While Skylar posted Instagram photos from Paris and Gerard buried himself in work, Naomi sat with me through chemotherapy. She held my hand during the worst nights. She read to me when my eyes were too weak to see. Tears rolled down my cheeks as Mom detailed every sacrifice, every moment of care I'd given. The room was utterly still. So yes, I leave everything to Naomi. The house, the family business shares, the art collection Gerard thought I didn't know he was planning to sell. Everything. Dad stood again, his face red. This is manipulation. She was sick, not thinking clearly. 3 doctors certified her competency, Ken cut in, holding up documents. Would you like me to share their reports? Or perhaps we should discuss the real reason you're upset. The SEC might be very interested in some of these financial records. Dad sank back down, ashen-faced. One more thing, Mom said on screen. Kaysen, dear, those private meetings with Gerard about selling the house once I was gone, I recorded those too. Your fiancé might be interested in knowing you plan to cut her out completely. Skylar whirled on Kaysen, who was already backing toward the door. Is this true? Skylar, baby, I can explain. Save it! She yanked off her engagement ring and threw it at him. He fled, nearly knocking over Aunt Hannah's husband in his haste. And now, Mom's voice grew softer, to my dearest Naomi, you never asked for anything, never expected anything. That stops today. Take what's yours. Build the life you put on hold for me. But remember, revenge isn't the end. It's the beginning. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, I stood up, hands steady as I opened the folder. There's more, I announced. Bank transfers, hidden accounts. Dad, would your partners like to know where their investment funds really went? Or Aunt Hannah, should we discuss the real reason you stayed quiet? Naomi, Hannah pleaded, please. No more secrets, I said firmly. No more lies. Everyone leaves here today knowing exactly who they are and what they've done. For the next hour, the truth spilled out. Partners stormed off, making angry phone calls. Relatives either avoided eye contact or came to offer tearful apologies. Through it all, I stood my ground, Mom's strength flowing through me. Finally, only Skylar remained. Mascara streaked down her face. You've ruined everything. No, I replied. You did that yourself. The house keys, please. She threw them at my feet. I hope you choke on your victory. After everyone left, Daisy helped me clean up. How do you feel? I looked around the room. Mom's room, my room now. Lighter, like I can finally breathe. Your mom would be proud, she said, hugging me. That night, alone in the house, I found one last note from Mum, tucked into her pillow. The truth hurts, but lies poison the soul. You're stronger than all of them combined. Now prove it by building something beautiful from these ashes. I fell asleep in her bed, surrounded by the lingering scent of her perfume, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges. Dad's lawyers would call, Skylar would plot. But for the first time since Mom died, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. The fallout came in waves. First, Dad's law firm placed him on indefinite leave pending an investigation. Then, Skylar's interior design clients began canceling contracts, whispers of fraud following her name. Our extended family split into factions, some calling to apologize, others spreading vicious rumors. I was in Mom's garden, replanting her beloved roses, when Daisy rushed out with her laptop. "You need to see this," she said, showing me Skylar's latest Instagram post, a tearful video claiming I'd manipulated our dying mother, complete with carefully edited clips from family gatherings. "She's desperate," I said, though my hands shook as I wiped dirt from them. "It gets worse," Daisy scrolled down. "People are sharing it. Your cousin Rita says she has evidence of your supposed manipulation." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Back off now, or everyone learns what really happened the night Mom fell down the stairs." "What is this about?" Daisy asked, reading over my shoulder. 3 years ago, Mom had a bad fall. She was on new medication, lost her balance. I trailed off, remembering that night. At least that's what we thought. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Aunt Hannah on the porch, clutching her purse like a shield. I let her in, noting her nervous energy. "We need to talk," she said, glancing at Daisy. "Privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of her." Hannah sank into Mum's armchair. "Your father. He's not well. He's been making calls, calling in favors. He says he has proof you were stealing Mum's medication, selling it." "That's ridiculous," Daisy exclaimed. "Is it?" Hannah's voice hardened. "What about the money that went missing from her account that summer? The prescriptions that kept running out early?" I stared at her. "You know exactly what happened to that money. You helped Dad hide it." "I did what I had to do to protect this family." "No," I said quietly. "You did what you had to do to protect yourself. Mom knew about the affair, didn't she? The one with Dad's brother?" Hannah's face went white. "How?" "Mom kept records of everything, every secret, every lie. She knew Dad was blackmailing you, using that information to keep you quiet." My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Last chance. Walk away or everyone learns the truth about the fall." "What truth?" I demanded, showing Hannah the message. "What really happened that night?" Tears filled her eyes. "I was there. I saw—" Skylar was angry about the will. She and Mom argued at the top of the stairs. When Mom turned away, Skylar, she pushed her. Not hard, but enough. The room spun. Daisy grabbed my arm, steadying me. "You knew?" My voice cracked. "You knew, and you said nothing?" Gerard convinced me it was an accident. He said telling the truth would destroy the family. "The family was already destroyed," I whispered. "We just didn't know it yet." Hannah reached for her purse. "There's more. Documents, recordings, things your mother gave me for safekeeping. I was too afraid to use them before, but now—" A loud crash interrupted her. Skylar stood in the doorway, her face contorted with rage. "You treacherous bitch!" she screamed at Hannah. "After everything Dad did for you?" "Skylar," I started, but she cut me off. "Shut up. You think you've won? You think exposing everyone's secrets makes you powerful?" She laughed hysterically. "You have no idea what it takes to win in this world. Mom was weak, and so are you." "Mom wasn't weak," I said, standing. "She was strong enough to see the truth about all of us." "The truth?" Skylar's hand shook as she pointed at me. "You want the truth? That night on the stairs, I wanted her to fall. I wanted her gone so we could all stop pretending to be this perfect, loving family." The admission hung in the air like poison. Hannah covered her mouth, crying silently. "Get out," I said, my voice ice cold. "Get out before I call the police." "Go ahead," Skylar sneered. "It's your word against mine, and I've got nothing left to lose." She stormed out, leaving the front door swinging. In the silence that followed, Hannah handed me a thick envelope. "Everything your mother wanted you to have. Use it wisely. She stood, straightening her jacket. And Naomi? Be careful. When people have nothing left to lose, that's when they're most dangerous. After she left, Daisy hugged me tightly. What are you going to do? I looked at the envelope, thinking of Mom's last words about building something beautiful from the ashes. First, I said, I'm going to learn exactly what happened that night. Then, I'm going to make sure justice is served, not just for Mom, but for all of us. The roses in the garden caught the afternoon light, their thorns sharp and ready. Mom had always said roses needed both sunshine and storms to grow strong. She was right about that too. The family gathered again, this time for Mom's memorial service at the local church. 1 month had passed since the will reading, and I'd spent every day piecing together the truth from Mom's documents and Hannah's evidence. I stood at the podium facing the crowd. Dad sat in the front row, his face gaunt from stress since the firm's investigation began. Skylar lurked near the back, her designer clothes replaced by something more subdued. The rest of the family filled the pews, their faces a mix of sympathy and wariness. Mom taught me that truth is like a rose, I began. Beautiful, but sometimes it has thorns. Today, we're going to feel those thorns. I pulled out my phone and played an audio recording. Skylar's voice filled the church. I wanted her to fall. I wanted her gone. Gasps echoed through the room. Skylar jumped up, but Daisy and 2 police officers blocked the exits. 3 years ago, I continued, our mother fell down the stairs. Or rather, she was pushed. We have security camera footage from that night, courtesy of the system Mom had secretly installed after she discovered Dad's embezzlement. Dad's face went ashen as I connected my laptop to the projector. The grainy footage showed Mom and Skylar arguing at the top of the stairs, then the push, the fall, the aftermath. Detective Roberts, I nodded to one of the officers. I believe you have something to say? The detective stepped forward. Skylar, you're under arrest for attempted murder. Gerard, you're under arrest for conspiracy after the fact and financial crimes. You can't do this, Skylar shrieked as the officers approached. Hannah, tell them, you were there. Hannah stood up, tears streaming down her face. I'm done covering for you, both of you. She turned to the detective. I'll testify to everything I saw. Dad tried to run, but was quickly caught. As the officers led them away, Skylar's voice echoed through the church. You're just like her, weak, pathetic, hiding behind your precious truth. No, I called after her. Mom wasn't weak. She was playing the long game. Every recording, every document, every piece of evidence, she collected it all while you thought she was helpless. She knew justice would come, even if she didn't live to see it. The church erupted in chaos. Relatives argued, cried, or sat in stunned silence. Kason, who'd slipped in late, rushed out looking sick. Our cousins huddled in groups, whispering about family secrets finally coming to light. There's more, I announced, holding up a folder. Mom documented everything. The affairs, the stolen money, the lies. She wanted the truth known, not for revenge, but for healing. I walked down the aisle, dropping copies of documents on the pews. Take them, read them, learn from them. Mom believed sunlight was the best disinfectant. Aunt Hannah approached me, her hands shaking. I should have spoken up sooner. Your mother. She knew I was afraid. She forgave me anyway. She forgave all of us, I said softly, even Skylar and Dad. But forgiveness doesn't mean escaping consequences. Outside, police cars pulled away with my sister and father. Neighbors gathered on the church steps, watching the scene unfold. Daisy appeared at my side, squeezing my hand. What happens now? She asked. I looked at the roses decorating the church entrance, Mom's favorites, white and pure. Now we rebuild. Mom left instructions for everything, including setting up a foundation in her name. She wanted her story to help others escape domestic abuse and family violence. She'd be proud of you, Hannah said, joining us, not just for exposing the truth, but for doing it with grace. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Ken. Rose's final video diary is ready. The one she made for after justice was served. Come by when you're ready. The church slowly emptied, leaving me alone with Mom's roses. I touched a petal, remembering her words about building something beautiful from ashes. The truth had cost us our illusions of a perfect family, but maybe that was the price of real healing. Daisy waited by the door. Ready to go? I nodded, taking one last look at the church where we'd celebrated so many family milestones. Marriages, baptisms, and now, finally, truth. Mom used to say that family secrets are like thorns, I told her as we walked out. They hurt until you pull them out. The autumn sun warmed my face as we stepped outside. Somewhere across town, Skylar and Dad faced booking at the police station. The family's carefully constructed facade had crumbled, but in its place, something honest could finally grow. Like Mom's roses, truth needed both light and pain to bloom, and bloom it would, in its own time, in its own way. Ken's office was quiet as Mom's final video played on his computer. Her face glowed with a peace I hadn't seen in her last months. "My dearest Naomi," she began, "if you're watching this, then the truth has finally come to light. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything while I was alive. Some battles we have to choose carefully." I gripped Daisy's hand as Mom continued. "The foundation papers are in order. Use the money well. Help other families break free from their cycles of secrets and abuse. But more importantly, live your life. The one you put on hold for me." The video ended. Ken handed me a thick envelope. "The foundation paperwork, plus one last surprise. Your mother left you her journal from the year she met your father." Back home, I sat in Mum's garden, reading her words from 30 years ago. Her hopes, her gradual realization of Dad's true nature, her determination to protect her daughters. The final entry hit me hardest. I couldn't save my marriage, but I saved my daughter. Naomi has her own strength. She just doesn't know it yet. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Skylar wearing prison orange, accompanied by 2 guards. 5 minutes, one guard said as I opened the door. Skylar looked smaller somehow, her designer confidence stripped away. The DA offered a deal. If I testify against Dad about the financial crimes, they'll reduce my charges. "Are you going to take it?" "I don't know." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Dad's lawyers say they can beat this, but..." She gestured at her jumpsuit. "I'm tired of lying." "Mom would want you to tell the truth." "Mom?" Skylar laughed bitterly. "You know what I remember most? Her reading to us when we were little. She did all the voices. The Secret Garden was her favorite, because broken things could heal." Skylar finally looked at me. "I found this in my cell." She pulled out a worn photograph, Mom holding both of us as children, all 3 smiling. "They let me keep it. I look at it every night and wonder when I became this. It's not too late to change. Isn't it?" Her voice cracked. "I pushed our mother down the stairs. I tried to steal your inheritance. I'm exactly what everyone says I am." "No," I touched the photograph. "You're lost, like the girl in the garden." "But Mom believed in second chances." The guard stepped forward. "Time's up." "Wait." I grabbed Mom's journal. "Take this, read it, then decide about the DA's deal." After they left, I walked through the house, touching Mom's things, the books she loved, the china she collected, the life she built despite everything. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Hannah, carrying a box of old photos. "Found these at my house," she said. "Thought you might want them for the foundation's first fundraiser." We spent the afternoon sorting photographs, building a timeline of truth rather than pretense. Hannah paused over one picture, Mom at the hospital after her fall, smiling despite her injuries. "She never stopped hoping we'd all find our way back," Hannah said softly. "We still can." My phone buzzed, a message from Ken. Gerard took the plea deal, full confession. Skylar's testimony won't be needed. Dad confessed, I told Hannah. Maybe he found his conscience. Or maybe he finally ran out of lies. She stood to leave, then hesitated. The foundation launched next week. Would you like help with the roses? Rose always said gardens grow better with more than one pair of hands. That evening, I sat in Mom's favorite chair, surrounded by photo albums and memories. Daisy brought dinner and we talked about the foundation's future. You know what I realized? I said, showing her Mom's journal. She wasn't just collecting evidence. She was leaving a map, showing us how to rebuild once the truth came out. The doorbell rang one final time. A courier delivered a letter from Skylar. I'm taking the deal, not for Dad, not for a lighter sentence, but because Mom deserved better. We all did. Maybe someday I'll understand what real strength looks like. You already do. S. I placed the letter in Mom's journal, between the pages where she wrote about hope and healing. Outside, the roses caught the last light of day, their petals open to the sky. Mom was right. Truth has thorns, but it also has beauty. In exposing our family's darkness, she'd given us all a chance at light. Some wounds would take time to heal, some trust might never fully return, but at least now we were growing in honest soil. I touched the foundation paperwork on my desk, Mom's final gift taking shape. From these ashes, something new would bloom. Something true, something strong, something worthy of her memory.
The text message from Mum came on a Tuesday morning, right as I was helping Lucy tie her shoes for school. Need to talk, honey. Call when you can. My name is Amber, and that message was the beginning of the end. Or maybe it was the beginning of something else entirely. I just didn't know it yet. I called Mom back from the car after dropping the kids off, my coffee getting cold in the cup holder. Her voice had that sugary sweetness that always meant bad news was coming. "Sweetheart, I've been crunching numbers for the annual lake trip," she started, "and with everything being so expensive these days, well, we just can't swing it this year. Not with all the extras." My throat tightened. Extras? You know, honey, the additional rooms, extra meals. It adds up. The extras were my children. My 10-year-old son, Braden, and 7-year-old daughter, Lucy, had suddenly become line items on a budget spreadsheet. "I can chip in more," I offered, hating how desperate I sounded. "The business is doing better now." "Oh no, we couldn't ask that of you," Mom cut in quickly. "Besides, Edith already suggested we skip it altogether. Give everyone's wallet a break." Of course Edith suggested it. My perfect older sister, who never had to worry about money since marrying Bentley. "Right," I managed. "Thanks for letting me know." That evening, I had to tell the kids. Braden took it hardest. He'd been practicing casting with his new fishing rod for months. Lucy just asked if the fish would miss us, and somehow that hurt worse. "Next year," I promised them both. "We'll definitely go next year." 3 days later, I was mindlessly scrolling through Facebook when I saw it. My hand started shaking so bad, I nearly dropped my phone. There was Edith, tagged in dozens of photos. All aboard! Family, first truck cruise life. The pictures showed everyone. Mom, Dad, Edith, Bentley, their kids, even our cousin Sarah, on the deck of a luxury cruise ship. I clicked through each photo like I was picking at a scab. There they were at the captain's dinner, dressed up and laughing. Another showed Dad teaching Edith's boys how to play shuffleboard, exactly like he used to teach me. My phone buzzed with a text from Sandra, my best friend. "Are you seeing this? Call me." I couldn't call. I could barely breathe. More photos kept coming over the next week. Pool parties, exotic ports, sunset dinners, each one tagged with nauseating hashtags like "Shush Blessed Family" and "Ha Making Memories." Finally, I got a voicemail from Mum. "Having such a wonderful time, sweetie. The ship is gorgeous. Wish you could see it. Maybe next time when things aren't so tight, right?" That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine. The summer air was thick with humidity and the sound of crickets. I pulled up the last family photo I had from the lake, taken the previous summer. Everyone smiling, the water gleaming behind us. I was standing slightly apart, as usual, holding Lucy on my hip. My phone lit up with another cruise photo. This time it was Edith's latest post. Nothing better than quality time with the ones who matter most. Jasher family vacation. The ones who matter most. I walked inside and found Braden's fishing rod propped in the corner, still new and unused. Beside it was Lucy's lake journal, where she drew pictures of the fish she wanted to catch next time. The wine glass shook in my hand as 17 years of being the family afterthought crashed over me at once. The constant comparisons to Edith, the subtle digs about my divorce, the way they'd slowly pushed me to the edges of every family photo, every holiday, every memory. They hadn't cancelled the summer trip because of money. They'd cancelled me. I opened my laptop and pulled up the business plan for Navitrack, my fledgling tech startup. The investor meeting was in 2 days. Until now, I'd been nervous about it. Suddenly, I felt nothing but cold determination. My phone buzzed again. Another cruise photo. I turned it face down without looking. "I promise," I whispered to my sleeping children down the hall. "We will never be left behind again." I just didn't know then exactly how I'd keep that promise, or what it would cost us all. "They're ready for you, Ms. Thomas." Willow's voice snapped me back to reality. I was standing in the gleaming lobby of Venture Capital Partners, gripping my presentation folder so hard my knuckles had turned white. "How do I look?" I whispered. Willow, my brilliant 28-year-old business partner, straightened my blazer. Like someone about to change the world. Or at least keep kids safer in it. The boardroom was intimidating, all glass and chrome and serious faces. I set up my prototype of Navitrack, our child safety wearable, on the table. My hands were steady now. They had to be. 3 years ago, I began, my son got lost at a crowded mall. For 17 minutes, I couldn't find him. Those were the longest 17 minutes of my life. The investors leaned forward slightly. I had their attention. That's when I realized existing GPS trackers for kids were bulky, obvious, and easy to remove. So I created this. I held up our sleek bracelet design. Waterproof, tamper-proof, and disguised as a fashion accessory kids actually want to wear. Questions flew. Market size, competition, manufacturing costs. I answered each one with the precision of someone who'd rehearsed in front of their bathroom mirror for months. Impressive, said the lead investor, examining our prototype. But why you? What makes you the one to bring this to market? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Edith. "Mum's birthday dinner Saturday. Bentley's booking that new French place downtown. $200 per person. You in?" I silenced my phone and looked straight at the investor. Because I'm a mother who understands what parents fear most. And I'm stubborn enough to solve problems others ignore. 2 hours later, Willow and I stood in the parking lot, still in shock. $5 million, she kept repeating. They're giving us $5 million. I hugged her, both of us laughing and crying. We did it! We actually did it! That night, I took the kids to their favourite pizza place to celebrate. While they argued over toppings, I checked my emails. There was one from Sandra marked FWD Urgent Lake Property Inquiry. I opened it and froze. It was an email chain accidentally forwarded to Sandra's law firm. Bentley copying Edith and my parents, discussing booking the entire Turner Pines resort for next summer. 8 weeks total, he wrote. Just our immediate family. More intimate that way. More intimate? Like the cruise. Another family vacation I wasn't meant to know about. "Mom?" Braden's voice pulled me back. "Can we get extra cheese?" I looked at my son's hopeful face, so much like his father's before the divorce turned bitter. "Extra cheese," I agreed. "And ice cream after." Later that night, I called Sandra. I was going to delete it, she said, but you needed to know. They're doing it again, I said, my voice flat, planning another family trip without us. After today's investment news? They'll regret that. Sandra paused. Speaking of which, have you told them? I thought about all the times Edith had flaunted her family's success. How Mom and Dad beamed at every achievement of hers while treating mine like pleasant surprises. No, I said, and I'm not going to. Not yet. What are you thinking? I walked to my home office and pulled up the Turner Pines website. The rustic cabins nestled against the lake shore, the dock where Dad taught us to fish, the fire pit where we used to make s'mores. Remember when we were kids, I said, and Edith would hide my toys, then pretend she had no idea where they were. Yeah? Well, I think it's time I learned to play that game too. I clicked on the Contact Us tab. Sandra, I need a favour. A big one. How much do you know about real estate acquisitions? Amber. Her tone was cautionary. What exactly are you planning? I thought about the cruise photos, the cancelled lake trip, years of being the family afterthought. Justice, I said simply, or maybe revenge. Is there really a difference? The website showed rental rates for the entire resort. The number was significant, but after today's investment, it might as well have been pocket change. Send me whatever paperwork I need to see, I told Sandra. And, Sandra, let's keep this between us for now. I hung up and opened my laptop to start researching property laws. Outside my window, the moon reflected off my neighbour's pool, reminding me of the lake's shimmer at night. Soon, I thought. Very soon. The gravel crunched under my tyres as I pulled into Turner Pines for the first time in months. The morning fog was just lifting off the lake, and the air smelled like pine needles and possibility. Freddie, the property manager, waited for me on the main office porch. He was exactly as Sandra had described. Weathered face, kind eyes, and a ring of keys that probably hadn't changed in 20 years. Ms. Thomas? He extended his hand. Freddie Valdez, thanks for making the drive out. Please, call me Amber. I followed him inside where a pot of coffee was brewing. I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice. Well, when a potential buyer wants to see the place. He poured us both coffee in ceramic mugs with faded lake designs. Though I admit I'm curious. We don't usually get interest in the whole property. I sipped my coffee, buying time. I heard there might be some long-term booking plans for next summer. Freddie nodded. Yeah, actually. Got a real estate agent, Bentley Little, trying to lock down 8 weeks for his family. Offering above rate too. Has he signed anything yet? Nah, just preliminary talks. Why? I pulled out the folder Sandra had prepared. Because I'd like to make an offer, not for a booking, for the entire resort. Freddie's eyebrows shot up. The whole thing? Every cabin, every dock, every pine needle. I slid the paperwork across his desk. And I can close within 30 days. He whistled low, studying the numbers. This is substantial. Mind if I ask why? Through the office window, I could see the lake sparkling. Memories flooded back, teaching Lucy to swim off the shallow dock. Braden's first caught fish, countless marshmallow sticky evenings around the fire pit. Let's just say I have history here, I replied. Good history I'd like to preserve. Freddie nodded slowly. The owners have been considering selling. Place needs updates they can't afford. He hesitated. But what about the existing bookings? Bentley's family. No contracts signed means no obligations. I met his eyes. And I'd like to keep you on as manager, Freddie, with a raise. He studied me for a long moment. There's more to this story, isn't there? There always is. I stood up. Show me around? We spent the next hour touring the property. The main lodge needed a new roof, and several cabins required modernizing. But the bones were good, strong, like me. Previous owners will want to move fast, Freddie said as we walked the main dock, before peak season planning starts. That works for me. I pulled out my phone and texted Sandra, "Make it happen." Just then, my phone lit up with a FaceTime call from Edith. I almost declined it, but curiosity won out. "Amber!" Her perfect smile filled the screen. "I've missed you so much. Where are you? That looks like... Are you at a lake?" "Just checking out some property." I kept my voice neutral. "What's up?" "Oh, I've been thinking about you. We all have. You should come visit next summer. We're planning this amazing family trip." "Sorry, bad reception," I cut in, watching her face freeze in mock concern. "I'll call you back." I ended the call and turned to Freddie, who was pretending not to listen. "How soon can we start the paperwork?" "I'll call the owners now." He paused. "You sure about this?" I looked out over the lake, remembering all the times I'd watched Edith get the better cabin, the newer kayak, the most attention. Now I'd have them all. "Absolutely sure." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of contracts, inspections, and bank transfers. Sandra earned every penny of her legal fees, creating an LLC to hide my name from public records until the sale was final. Finally, on a crisp fall morning, I met Freddie outside the main lodge one last time. "Congratulations," he said, handing me the master keys. "She's all yours." "Thanks, Freddie." I weighed the keys in my hand. "Any word from Bentley about the summer booking?" "Left 3 messages yesterday. Should I call him back?" "No need." I smiled, remembering Edith's fake sweet FaceTime call. "Let him keep trying." My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. "Final, papers filed. You're officially the owner. Still want to go through with the rest of the plan?" I thought about my kids' faces when I'd had to tell them the lake trip was cancelled, about the cruise photos, about years of being the family afterthought. "Yes," I texted back. "Send the letters." Freddie was watching me curiously. "Ms. Thomas, Amber, whatever happens next, I'm guessing I should brace for some drama." I pocketed the keys and looked out at my lake, my cabins, my revenge. "Freddie," I said, "you have no idea." "The no trespassing orders are ready," Sandra said, spreading documents across my dining room table. "1 for Edith and Bentley, 1 for your parents, 1 for each of their kids over 18. I traced my finger over the legal language. "Will they hold up?" "They're ironclad. As property owner, you have every right to deny access." She hesitated. "But, Amber, once we serve these, there's no going back." Through the sliding glass doors, I could see Braden and Lucy playing in the backyard. They were drawing pictures of fish, planning for next summer. They just didn't know it yet. "Did you see Edith's latest Instagram post?" I pulled up my phone. "Can't wait for our magical summer at the lake. Just blessed family, just your traditions continue." Sandra grimaced. "She's really making this easy, isn't she?" "She always does." I signed the papers one by one. "When will they be served?" "Tomorrow night. They're all having dinner at that new French place downtown. My process server will catch them right as they're leaving." My phone buzzed. A text from Willow. "Big Tech magazine wants to interview you about NaviTrack. They're calling you a rising star in child safety innovation." I showed Sandra the message. Perfect timing. "You're not going to tell them about the business success either?" "Not yet." I gathered the signed papers. Let them think I'm still struggling. It'll make this better. Later that evening, I drove out to the lake alone. Freddie had left the gate code under my name now. Owner access. The word still felt strange. I walked down to the main dock, remembering all the times I'd sat here as a kid, watching Edith get Dad's attention, Mum's praise, the best of everything. The water lapped quietly against the wooden posts. My phone lit up. Mum calling. I let it go to voicemail. Honey, it's Mum. We missed you at my birthday dinner last week. Edith said she tried to reach you about it. Anyway, she's planning this wonderful summer trip for next year. I really hope you can make it work with your budget this time. We hate leaving you out. I deleted the message and dialed Freddie instead. Everything okay? He answered. Has Bentley called again about the booking? 3 more times today. Getting pretty aggressive about it. I smiled in the darkness. Good. Keep dodging him. Will do, boss. He paused. By the way, that contractor came by to quote the cabin renovations. Want me to send you the estimate? Yes. I want everything updated by spring. I looked across the lake to where the most luxurious cabin sat, the one Edith always claimed. Especially cabin 7. After hanging up, I walked the property in the growing darkness. The fire pit where Dad taught Edith to make the perfect s'more while I watched from the sidelines. The shallow beach where Mum helped Edith's kids learn to swim, years after refusing to teach me. Sandra was waiting in my driveway when I got home. Last chance to back out, she said, holding up the legal documents. We can tear these up right now. I thought about the cruise photos, the cancelled trip, the years of subtle exclusion masked as concern about my situation. Send them, she nodded slowly. I'll have my guy text us when it's done tomorrow night. Want company while we wait? No, I hugged her quickly. I need to do this part alone. The next evening, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset and waiting. At 8:47, my phone buzzed with a text from Sandra's process server. Documents served to all parties. Complete success. I closed my eyes, imagining the scene. My family, walking out of their expensive dinner, being handed legal papers. Edith's perfect mask cracking. Mum's confusion. Dad's silence. Bentley's impotent anger. My phone started buzzing immediately. Calls from Mum, Dad, Edith, text messages piling up. What is this? Call us right now. Have you lost your mind? Answer your phone. I silenced them all and walked inside to check on my sleeping children. Lucy had left her lake journal open on her bed. New drawings of the fish she hoped to catch, the cabin she wanted to stay in. Soon, baby, I whispered, tucking her in. Very soon. Back on the porch, I pulled up the security camera feed Freddie had installed. The lake was silent, dark except for starlight on the water. My lake, my revenge. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Sandra. You okay? I watched a shooting star streak across the lake view on my screen. Never better, I replied, and for the first time in years, it wasn't a lie. Mum and Dad are coming over for dinner tonight, I told the kids at breakfast. I made peace offerings. Really? Braden looked up from his cereal. Grandma and Grandpa haven't visited in forever. I know, honey. I checked my phone. 17 missed calls since last night. That's why I invited them. I spent the afternoon cooking Dad's favourite pot roast and Mum's preferred apple pie. At 6:55 p.m, my phone rang. Mum's number. Amber, sweetheart. Her voice was strained. Something's come up. We can't make it tonight. I gripped the counter. Too busy? Your father isn't feeling well, and with everything that happened yesterday, maybe we should all take some time to cool off. Of course. I kept my voice steady. Feel better, Dad. I hung up and looked at the perfectly set table, at my children's expectant faces. They're not coming, are they? Braden asked quietly. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a notification. Freddie had sent me security camera footage from the lake. I clicked play. There they were. Mum, Dad, Edith, and Bentley, having what looked like a heated discussion on the main dock. Trespassing, despite the legal orders. Edith was gesturing wildly, Bentley pacing. I forwarded the video to Sandra with the message, "Options." Her reply was instant. Police or private security? I watched my family arguing on my property, planning God knows what. Neither, I typed back. Not yet. Let them dig their hole deeper. My phone kept lighting up with messages. Edith had moved from texts to email. How dare you do this to our family after everything we've done for you? You ungrateful, spiteful little girl. You think you can just buy our memories, our traditions? You're pathetic. I screenshotted the email and saved it to a folder labelled evidence. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find a courier holding an envelope. Delivery from Mr. and Mrs. Little, he said. Inside was a formal letter from Bentley's law firm, threatening legal action for emotional distress and interference with family relations. I was still reading when Lucy tugged my sleeve. Mum, since Grandma and Grandpa aren't coming, can we have pizza instead? I looked at my daughter's innocent face, then at the legal threats in my hand. You know what? Yes, and ice cream. And we're eating in front of the TV. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I got an anonymous letter in my email. The writing style was unmistakably Dad's. You've broken this family. Your mother can't stop crying. Is this what you wanted? To hurt us all? You're not the daughter we raised. I poured a glass of wine and typed back. You're right. I'm not the daughter you raised. I'm the one you ignored. Then I deleted it without sending. Instead, I called Willow. The magazine interview is tomorrow, she said. What's our angle? Success through adversity, I replied. Single mum overcomes obstacles to protect children everywhere. And Willow, make sure to mention our company valuation. You're finally going public with the investment news? Time to show all my cards, I paused. Well, almost all of them. My phone buzzed. Another security alert from Freddie. This time showing Bentley examining the cabin locks, testing windows. Getting interesting over here, Freddie texted. Want me to confront them? No, I replied. Just keep recording. I walked to Braden's room and found him awake, looking at old lake photos on his phone. Hey, buddy, I sat on his bed. Want to hear a secret? He nodded. We're going to the lake this summer, all of us. His eyes lit up. Really? But I thought... Things have changed. I smoothed his hair. I promise you'll never miss another summer there. Does Aunt Edith know? Not yet. I kissed his forehead. But she will. Back in my room, I opened my laptop to find an email from Mom. Subject line. Please read. Whatever we did to hurt you, we're sorry. But this revenge, it's beneath you, Amber. You're breaking your father's heart. Call us, please. I closed the laptop without replying and walked to my window. The night was clear. Stars bright, like they always were at the lake. My phone buzzed one last time. Sandra, you okay? This is getting intense. I thought about the dinner no one came to. The legal threats, the guilt trips, the trespassing. They think I'm breaking the family, I typed back. But you can't break what was already broken. You can only rebuild it on your terms. And these are your terms? I watched another shooting star streak across the sky. No, I replied. These are just the opening moves. Your sister just went nuclear, Sandra said, sending me a link. Check Facebook. Edith's post was already going viral in our local community. My own sister bought an entire lake resort out of spite, just to keep our family from making memories there. Some people let divorce and bitterness poison their souls. Pray for her. Bogus Toxic's family should pray for healing. I was still reading the comments when Willow called. Have you seen the magazine article? It's trending! I switched tabs to the tech magazine's website. There it was, my face on the digital cover. NaviTrack CEO revolutionizes child safety. How one mother's fear became a $50 million innovation. Perfect timing, I said, watching the article spread across LinkedIn. How's the stock price? Up 40% since opening. Willow paused. Your family's going to see this. That's the point. I posted the article to my own LinkedIn with a simple message. Success isn't about who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself. Proud to protect children everywhere. Der women in tech love perseverance. Within hours, my inbox was flooded. Old classmates, distant relatives, even my ex-husband, all suddenly remembering my existence. Then came the text from Dad. Just saw the news. Why didn't you tell us? We're your parents. I was composing a response when Braden walked in. Mum, can I ask you something? Always. Are we ever going back to the lake? I closed my laptop. Actually, I was thinking, how about this weekend? His eyes widened. Really? Really? Go tell your sister to pack. I texted Freddie. Coming up Friday with the kids and some friends. Then I called Sandra. Time for phase 2. Gather the troops. By Friday afternoon, the lake was alive with laughter. I'd invited everyone who'd supported me through the hard years. Sandra, Willow, my divorce support group, single mums from Lucy's school. Kids splashed in the water while adults grilled on the deck. This place is amazing, Willow said, watching Lucy learn to paddleboard from one of the mums. You should run summer programs here for single-parent families. Already working on it. I handed her a business plan. Starting next season, Sandra joined us, phone in hand. Heads up, Edith's post is getting attention. Local news wants to interview her about the family dispute. Let her talk. I watched Braden teaching his friend to fish. Truth has a way of coming out. Speaking of truth, Sandra nodded toward the gate. We've got company. A familiar car was pulling up the drive. Mum's silver SUV. Want me to call security? Freddie asked, appearing at my side. No. I stood up. I'll handle this. Mom got out looking smaller than I remembered, clutching her purse like a shield. Amber, her voice cracked. I saw the article, the business. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? I kept my voice level. Would you have cancelled the cruise? Included us in the lake plans? We never meant to hurt you. Really? I gestured to the happy scene around us. Because this is what family looks like, Mum. These people showed up when you didn't. They celebrated my successes while you were busy celebrating Edith's. We were wrong, she whispered, but this revenge, buying the lake, it's not you. No, it's Edith. It's what she would do. I met her eyes. I learned from the best. Grandma. Lucy's voice cut through the tension as she ran up, dripping wet. Want to see me paddleboard? Mum's eyes filled with tears. I should go. Yes, you should. I picked up Lucy. Because you're trespassing. And unlike you, I actually mean it when I say family only. I turned away, carrying Lucy back to the water where her new friends waited. Amber, please, Mum called after me. Don't do this. Already done. I didn't look back. Tell Edith she can do all the interviews she wants. I've got nothing to hide anymore. That evening, after everyone left and the kids were asleep in their cabin, I sat on the main dock watching the sunset. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Bentley. This isn't over. You're not the only one with resources. I smiled and typed back. Actually, it is over. You just don't know it yet. Sandra joined me on the dock with 2 glasses of wine. Your mum's visit will add fuel to Edith's fire, she warned. Good. I took a sip. Let it burn. You know what happens next, right? I watched the last light fade from the lake, my lake, and thought about the next phase of the plan. Yeah, I said. The real fun begins. The local news van pulled up to Turner Pines just as I finished my morning coffee. Edith had finally gotten her interview, and she'd chosen to do it right at the lake's entrance. Perfect. They're here, Freddie texted. Want me to run them off? No, I replied. Let them set up, but keep recording. I watched from my office window as Edith positioned herself perfectly, the lake gleaming behind her. Mum and Dad stood off to the side, trying to look appropriately concerned for the cameras. My phone rang. Sandra, you watching this circus? Front row seat. Want me to send the cease and desist? Not yet. Let's see what she does first. The reporter was setting up when I walked outside, making my way casually to the dock. Right on cue, Edith spotted me. There she is! She pointed dramatically, her voice carrying across the water. The sister who stole our family's happiness. The camera swung toward me. I kept walking. Amber, the reporter hurried over. Care to comment on your sister's allegations? I turned, smiling my best CEO smile. Which allegations? The ones about me being bitter and toxic? Or the ones about me stealing happiness? You know exactly what you did. Edith stormed over, Mum trailing behind her. You bought this place just to hurt us. Actually, I pulled out my phone. I bought it as an investment, part of Navitrack's community outreach program. We're converting it into a summer camp for children of single parents. The reporter's eyes lit up. The child safety company that just hit the NASDAQ? The same. I met Edith's gaze. We're starting renovations next week. In fact, I should thank my family. If they hadn't excluded me from their plans, I might never have seen the property's potential. That's a lie! Edith's perfect mask was cracking. You did this for revenge! Honey, Mum reached for her arm. Maybe we should... No! Edith jerked away. She's trying to rewrite history. We never excluded her. She couldn't afford... The cruise, I finished quietly. Funny how that worked out while you were all claiming financial hardship. The reporter was scribbling frantically. Or maybe, I continued, you meant the summer booking Bentley tried to make. The one where he specifically requested that no other families be allowed on the property during your stay. Dad stepped forward finally. Amber, please. This isn't how our family handles things. No, our family handles things by pretending they're not happening, by letting Edith make all the decisions, by treating me like an inconvenience since the day I was born. That's not true. Mum's voice broke. Really? I pulled up photos on my phone. Should we go through these? The cruise pictures, the family-only dinners I wasn't invited to, the... Enough! Edith lunged forward, trying to grab my phone. The camera caught everything. Mrs. Little, the reporter called out, are you attempting to assault your sister on her private property? Edith froze, realizing what she'd done. Her perfect image shattered on camera. This interview is over, Bentley appeared, trying to salvage the situation. We'll be pursuing legal action. No, I cut in. You won't, because if you do, I'll countersue for harassment, trespassing, and attempted assault, all of which I have on video. I gestured to Freddie's security cameras. And, unlike you, I can afford a very long legal battle. The silence was deafening. Now, I continued, you're all trespassing. Again. So either leave voluntarily, or I'll have you escorted out. Your choice. You've destroyed this family, Edith spat. No, Edith, you did that. I'm just done pretending it never happened. I turned to the reporter. If you'd like a real story, I'd be happy to show you our plans for the summer camp. We're partnering with several domestic violence shelters to provide safe vacations for families in transition. As security led my family away, Mum looked back one last time. Was it worth it? She asked softly. Hurting us like this? I watched them go. The people who had shaped my whole life with their subtle cruelties and casual exclusions. Yes, I said, but they were already too far away to hear. Later that night, alone on the dock, I finally let the tears come. Not for them, but for the little girl who had spent years believing she deserved less, who had watched from the sidelines as Edith got everything. My phone lit up, Sandra checking in. "You okay?" I wiped my eyes and looked out over my lake, where tomorrow my kids would swim and laugh and make new memories. "No," I typed back honestly, "but I will be." And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. "Mom! Mom! I caught one!" Braden's voice echoed across the lake as he held up his fishing rod, a small bass thrashing at the end of the line. I rushed to help him reel it in, showing him how to hold the fish for a quick photo before releasing it back into the water. His grin was brighter than the summer sun overhead. "Just like you taught me," he said proudly. "Just like I taught you," I agreed, remembering all the times I'd watched Dad teach Edith's kids instead of mine. Lucy came running down the dock, waving a letter. Mail came! I recognised Mum's handwriting immediately. This was the third letter she'd sent since the news interview went viral. I'd burned the first two without reading them. "Want me to get rid of it?" Sandra asked, appearing beside me with coffee. "No." I tucked it into my pocket. Not this time. The lake was alive with activity. Our first group of single-parent families had arrived yesterday. 5 mums with their kids, all getting a fresh start. Willow was teaching some of the children to kayak while Freddie gave a fishing lesson to others. "The reporter called again," Sandra said. "The story about our summer program is getting national attention. Ellen wants you on her show. Let's do it." I watched a mother teaching her daughter to swim, remembering how I'd had to learn on my own. The more publicity, the better. "Edith's gone quiet," Sandra added. "No more social media posts, no more legal threats. She's licking her wounds, she'll be back." "And when she is?" I smiled. "We'll be ready." That evening, after getting the kids settled in their cabin, I finally opened Mum's letter. Inside was a single photograph, me at age 7, sitting alone on this very dock, fishing rod in hand. Her note was simple. "I found this while cleaning. I don't remember who took it, but I remember that day. You caught your first fish, and no one was there to see it. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry for a lot of things." "Deep thoughts?" Willow joined me on the dock, handing me a glass of wine. "Just ghosts," I replied, tucking the photo away. "The renovation plans are finalised," she said. "Construction starts next week. You sure about converting Cabin 7? Cabin 7, Edith's favourite, the one she'd always claimed first. "Absolutely. It'll make a perfect community centre for the families." My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Saw the news about the summer programme. You've built something good here. Wish we'd seen your strength sooner." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Lucy appeared in her pyjamas, clutching her lake journal. "Can we make s'mores?" Soon we were all gathered around the fire pit. My kids, Sandra, Willow, Freddie, and our guest families. The night air was thick with the smell of chocolate and wood smoke. "Tell us a story," one of the children asked. I looked around the circle of faces lit by firelight. At my son, confident and kind. At my daughter, drawing new memories in her journal. At these families finding their way back to joy. "Once," I began, "there was a little girl who thought she didn't deserve nice things. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, Sandra found me still at the fire pit. 'You never answered my question,' she said. 'Was it worth it?' I thought about Edith's public meltdown, Mum's letters, Dad's text, the families now sleeping peacefully in cabins that once felt like forbidden territory. 'Look around,' I said. 'We took something broken and made it into something beautiful. That's better than revenge.' 'But you still got the revenge,' Sandra grinned. 'That too.' A shooting star streaked across the sky, and I remembered all the wishes I'd made on this lake as a child. Wishes to be included, to be enough, to be seen, Mom? Braden called from his cabin. Can you tuck me in again? Coming, honey. I stood, brushing sand from my jeans. You know what the best revenge is, Sandra? What's that? Living well, and making sure no other child feels as alone as I did. I headed toward my son's voice, leaving the ghosts of my past where they belonged, behind me in the dark, while I walked toward the light of something better. Not an ending, but a beginning. And this time, I was writing the story.
I knew something was off the moment I heard my mother's hushed voice through the kitchen door. We need April here now. It's the only way this will work. My father's muffled response made my stomach twist. She'll never agree if she knows the truth. I should have trusted my instincts right then, but when you're raised to believe family comes first, red flags just look like flags. My name is April, and this is how I learned the hard way that blood isn't always thicker than water. April, sweetheart. My mother's voice shifted to sugary sweet as I pushed through the door. She quickly ended her phone call, sliding her cell into her pocket. We didn't hear you come in. Sorry I'm early for dinner, I said, watching their faces carefully. The meeting at work finished sooner than expected. My father busied himself with the dishes, avoiding eye contact. Well, you're just in time. We need to discuss something important. Mom gestured to the kitchen table, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the wood. Sit down, dear. This is about Guillermo. My brother's name got my full attention. Is he okay? He's being deployed again, Mom said, retching for my hand. 6 months, maybe longer. What about Sawyer and August? I asked, thinking of my niece and nephew. That's exactly what we need to discuss. Dad finally turned around, leaning against the counter. The kids need someone to stay with them in Guillermo's house. Their mother's not in the picture, and we're too old to handle 2 young children full-time. I felt the trap closing in before they even sprung it. We need you, April. Mom squeezed my hand. The kids need you. Guillermo needs you. I have a job, I protested. A life. My apartment. You can work remotely, Dad cut in. Most companies are flexible these days, and you've always said you wanted to spend more time with the kids. When does he deploy? 2 weeks. Mom answered too quickly. I pulled my hand away. 2 weeks? And he's just telling us now? You know your brother. Dad shrugged. Never wants to worry anyone. Something didn't add up. Guillermo always planned everything meticulously, especially when it came to his kids. He would have had arrangements in place months ago. Let me call him. I reached for my phone. He's in pre-deployment training, Mom interrupted. Very limited contact, but he agreed this would be best for everyone. I looked between them, searching for signs of deception. You're sure he's okay with this? Of course! Mom's voice rose slightly. Why wouldn't he be? The next hour was a blur of guilt trips and emotional manipulation. They had answers for everything. My job concerns, my lease, my social life. By dessert, I felt cornered into agreeing. I'll need to give notice at work, I said, pushing away my untouched pie. We'll help you move this weekend, Dad said, already pulling out his phone to make arrangements. That night, I called my best friend Shia. Something feels wrong. I paced my apartment. They were too prepared, too pushy. Then don't do it, Zia said simply. But what if Guillermo really needs me? Those kids... I stopped pacing. I can't let them down. Your parents are master manipulators, Thea reminded me. Remember the Christmas incident? I did. They'd orchestrated a family crisis to prevent me from taking a job in Seattle 3 years ago. Just be careful, Thea advised. Document everything. 2 weeks later, I stood in Guillermo's living room, surrounded by boxes and 2 excited kids. Sawyer, 7 and precocious, hadn't stopped chattering since I arrived. 5-year-old August clung to my leg like a koala. "Daddy said you're staying forever," Sawyer announced, helping me unpack kitchen boxes. "Not forever, sweetie. Just until your dad comes home." "Grandma said forever," August mumbled into my knee. I froze, a coffee mug suspended halfway to the cabinet. "Grandma said that?" "Uh-huh. She told the man with the clipboard you're staying forever so they can sell the house." The mug slipped from my fingers, shattering on the floor. As I cleaned up the pieces, my mother's whispered words from 2 weeks ago echoed in my head. "It's the only way this will work." What exactly had I gotten myself into? "Don't worry about the mess." Mom appeared in the doorway, making me jump. "I'll clean it up. You focus on getting settled in." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "After all, we want everything to be perfect, don't we?" "Perfect for what?" I wanted to ask. Instead, I nodded and hugged the kids closer. Whatever game my parents were playing, they'd chosen the wrong pawn. 3 weeks into my new role as substitute mom, I'd developed a routine. Drop Sawyer at school, take August to preschool, work remotely from Guillermo's home office, then tackle the mountain of tasks that came with caring for 2 kids. It would have been manageable if not for my parents' constant hovering. "The realtor's coming by today," Mom announced, letting herself in without knocking. Again. I looked up from my laptop. "What, realtor? Oh, just for an assessment." She waved dismissively. "Insurance purposes? Shouldn't we wait for Guillermo to handle that?" "Your brother gave us power of attorney before he left." Dad appeared behind her. "Standard procedure for deployment." I'd worked in legal services long enough to know that wasn't standard at all. "I'll need the office cleared out by 2. Mom started opening drawers. "And maybe the kids could stay at our house tonight? They have school tomorrow." I closed my laptop, and I promised Sawyer we'd video call her class pet's new babies. "The hamsters?" Mom wrinkled her nose. "Surely that can wait." "No, it can't." I stood my ground. The kids need routine right now. After they left, I searched Guillermo's office. The drawer Mom had been rifling through contained property documents, but something was missing. I remembered seeing a blue folder here last week. My phone buzzed. A text from Thea. "Coffee, I'm in your neighborhood." 20 minutes later, we sat in a quiet corner of the local cafe. "They're up to something," I whispered, stirring my latte. "Yesterday, I overheard Mom on the phone talking about market value and quick sale." "Have you heard from Guillermo?" Thea asked. "No, and that's weird, too. He always finds a way to contact the kids even during training." A familiar voice carried across the cafe. "The property is perfect for development. Once we clear the title..." I grabbed Thea's arm. 2 tables over sat a man in a suit, the realtor, I assumed, talking to someone on his phone. "Yes, Mrs. Morgan assured me the current occupants are temporary. We can close within 60 days. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. "Did he just say Morgan?" Thea whispered. "Your mom's maiden name?" That night, after tucking the kids in, I searched Guillermo's email. His password had always been predictable. The kids' birthdays combined. The most recent emails were from 3 months ago. "Hey, big brother," I typed. "If you get this, please contact me. Something's not right. Auntie April? Sawyer's voice made me jump. She stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed giraffe. I had a bad dream. I closed the laptop. Come here, sweetie. She crawled into my lap. When is Daddy coming home? Soon, I lied, hugging her tight. Want to tell me about your dream? Grandma said we have to move away. She sniffled. She said Daddy's house is too big for us now. My blood ran cold. When did she say that? When she was showing the man my room. She didn't know I was listening. I carried Sawyer back to bed, my mind racing. Once she was asleep, I called the one person who might have answers. Khalil Howard Real Estate. This is Jessica speaking. Hi, I'm calling about a property assessment scheduled for tomorrow. Oh yes, the Morgan listing on Pine Street. Morgan listing, not Russell listing. Could you confirm the appointment time with Mrs. Morgan? I kept my voice steady. She asked me to check. Actually, Mr. Howard is meeting both Mr. and Mrs. Morgan at the property at 2. They're finalizing the listing agreement. I thanked her and hung up, hands shaking. My parents weren't just planning to sell Guillermo's house, they were already in the process. But how? They'd need the missing blue folder, power of attorney documents. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Signal weak. Got your email. What's wrong? G. Before I could reply, I heard the front door open. Mom's voice drifted up the stairs. The kids' rooms need painting before we list, she was saying. Neutral colors sell better. Ruby, shh, Dad hissed. April might hear. Oh, please, she's clueless, Mom scoffed. Just like her brother, too trusting for their own good. I pressed my hand against my mouth, stifling my anger. Through the gap in the office door, I watched them climb the stairs, carrying paint samples and carpet swatches. My phone buzzed again. April, you there? Signal dropping. Call base command if emergency. I typed quickly. They're selling your house. Need proof of power of attorney. Call ASAP. The message failed to send. When I tried again, the number was invalid. Downstairs, the front door opened again. More voices joined my parents. Male voices discussing property values and development potential. Game on, I thought, opening my laptop. Time to find out exactly what they were planning and how to stop it. What do you mean they forged the documents? Thea nearly spilled her wine. I spread the papers across her dining room table. Look at the signature date on the power of attorney. 3 months ago. But here's Guillermo's bank statement from the same day. He was in Georgia for training. Holy shit! Thea leaned closer. And you found this in their car? Mom left her briefcase in the garage while they were painting upstairs. I had 10 minutes. My hands shook as I sorted through the evidence. There's more. They've already accepted an offer from a development company. They're planning to tear down the house and build condos. But why? Your brother's house is paid for, right? That's what I thought. I pulled up an email on my phone. But I found this in Mom's deleted folder. They co-signed on a bad investment last year. Lost everything. They're underwater in their own mortgage. So they're stealing from their own son to fix their mistakes? Thea's face reddened with anger. While he's serving our country? My phone buzzed. Mom again. I ignored it. The worst part, I continued. They've been planning this since before Guillermo's deployment. They needed me there to make it look legitimate, like the family was all on board with the sale. What about the kids? According to these documents, they're planning to move them into their house. paint me as an unstable caretaker if I object. My voice cracked. They've thought of everything. Not everything. Thea grabbed her laptop. I have a friend who works at the county records office. Let's see what else they've been up to. 3 hours and another bottle of wine later, we had a clearer picture. My parents had created a shell company to buy the property. They'd used Mom's maiden name on everything, probably hoping Guillermo wouldn't connect the dots. April, Thea said suddenly, what if Guillermo's deployment isn't real? I stared at her. What? Think about it. Have you actually spoken to him? Seen deployment papers? My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from August's teacher. Is everything okay? He's very upset about moving. I have to get back. I stood up, gathering the documents. The kids! Wait! Thea grabbed my arm. You can't go back there alone. What if they realize you know? They won't. I'm their clueless daughter. Remember? I tried to smile but felt sick. Besides, I need to keep playing along until I can reach Guillermo. Back at the house, I found Mom in the kitchen with the kids. There you are. She smiled too brightly. We were just discussing summer plans. The children are so excited about moving in with us. No, we're not, Sawyer protested. I want to stay in Daddy's house. Now, sweetheart. Mom's voice hardened slightly. We've talked about this. Sometimes we have to make changes. What changes? I interrupted, watching her face carefully. Oh, just general changes, she backpedaled. Growing family, new opportunities. When's Daddy coming home? August asked for the 100th time. Soon, darling. Mom patted his head. Now, who wants ice cream? After the kids were in bed, I sat in Guillermo's office, staring at his deployment photo. Something was off about it. I zoomed in on my phone. The date stamp. It was from his last deployment, 2 years ago. My hands trembling, I called the base command number I'd found earlier. Fort Stewart, Sergeant Phillips speaking. Hi, I'm calling about my brother, Guillermo Russell. He deployed recently. 1 moment. Keys clicked. No deployment orders for anyone by that name in the last 6 months, ma'am. The room spun. Could you check again? He's supposed to be in pre-deployment training. No training records either. Last activity was an honorable discharge 3 months ago. I hung up, bile rising in my throat. 3 months ago. When the power of attorney was dated, a floorboard creaked behind me. Finding anything interesting? Dad stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. Just missing Guillermo, I lied smoothly. Any word from him? He studied me for a long moment. Your mother thinks we should all have dinner tomorrow. Discuss the future. Sounds great. I forced a smile. I'll bring dessert. After he left, I sent a coded message to Thea. Red alert. G not deployed. Need lawyer ASAP. My phone lit up with an incoming email from Guillermo's account. Help, it read. Can't call. In hospital. Parents took everything. Don't let them sell house. Protect kids. The timestamp was from 10 minutes ago. Another creak in the hallway. Mom's voice, low and urgent. She knows something. I saw her car at the county office building. Then we move faster, Dad replied. Call Khalil. Tell him we close next week. I sat in the dark office, my brother's words burning on the screen, and made a decision. They wanted to play hardball. Game on. The hospital receptionist sighed at my third attempt. I'm sorry, but without knowing which hospital, please, I begged. He's my brother, Guillermo Russell, recently discharged military. Ma'am, I've checked every hospital in a 50-mile radius. I ended the call and slumped in my car, parked outside my parents' house. They were inside with the kids, thinking I was at a work meeting. Instead, I'd spent the morning calling hospitals and Veterans Affairs offices. My phone buzzed. Thea. Lawyer friend can meet today, 2 p.m. A tap on my window made me jump. Khalil, the realtor, stood there, smiling. April, right? Your parents mentioned you'd be joining us for the walkthrough. I forced a smile and got out. Actually, I have some questions about the sale. Of course, though your parents handle most of the paperwork as power of attorney. About that, I pulled out my phone. Could you look at something? Before I could show him the forged documents, Mom burst out of the house. April, you're early. She grabbed my arm. Khalil, would you mind giving us a moment? She practically dragged me inside. Dad sat at the kitchen table with papers spread out. Where are the kids? I asked. At the park with the sitter, Mom replied. We need to talk. About what? The fake deployment? The forged documents? Or how about Guillermo being in a hospital somewhere? The color drained from Mom's face. Dad stood up slowly. Who have you been talking to? He demanded. Does it matter? I know what you're doing. We're doing this for the family, Mom insisted. The market's perfect right now. The development deal will set us all up for life. It's not your house to sell. Your brother made some mistakes. Dad cut in. Bad investments, gambling debts. We're protecting his assets before creditors take everything. Liar. I pulled out my phone. I have proof of the forged documents. I'm calling the police. Dad moved faster than I expected, snatching my phone. Sit down, he ordered. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Eugene, Mom protested. She's bluffing. She doesn't have proof. Really? I pulled the papers from my bag. These copies say otherwise. Mom lunged for the documents. I dodged, but Dad blocked the doorway. Think about the kids, Mom pleaded. They need stability. Once the sale goes through, you'll pay off your debts and disappear. I spat, leaving us with nothing. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Mom's eyes widened. The kids are supposed to be at the park, I realized. They heard everything, didn't they? Sawyer! August! Mom called out. Come down, sweeties. No response. I'll check on them. Dad started up the stairs. Don't bother. I pulled out my backup phone, the one Thea had insisted I get. They're not here. While you were watching me, you weren't watching them. What did you do? Mom grabbed my arm. They're safe, with people who actually care about them. I yanked free. Now, about that proof. Dad thundered back down. Their rooms are empty. Call the police, Mom ordered him. She kidnapped them. Go ahead. I held up my phone. I'm recording everything, and in about 10 minutes, my lawyer will be receiving emails with all the evidence, including the conversation we're having right now. You wouldn't, Mom whispered. We're your parents. Parents don't steal from their children. Parents don't forge documents or fake deployments. We had no choice, Dad shouted. The investment. Eugene, shut up! Mom cut him off. No, please continue, said a new voice. Khalil stood in the doorway, his phone also recording. I'd love to hear about the fraudulent sale I was almost part of. Mom crumpled into a chair. Dad's face went purple. I called the police myself, Khalil continued. They're on their way, along with someone from the VA fraud department. How long were you listening? Mom asked weakly. Long enough, He turned to me. The kids? With my friend Thea and her lawyer, safe and sound. Dad made a move toward the back door. Khalil stepped in his way. I wouldn't. Fraud charges are one thing. Fleeing the scene makes it much worse. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mom started to cry. April, please, she begged. We can work something out, as a family. I walked to the door, then turned back. You know what the worst part is? If you'd just asked for help, told us the truth, we would have helped you. Instead, you tried to steal everything from your own son while he's lying in some hospital, unable to defend himself. We never meant, Dad started. Save it for the police. I cut him off. I have a brother to find. As I walked out, I heard Mom collapse into sobs and Dad arguing with Khalil. But all I could think about was Guillermo's email. Help. Can't call. In hospital. I got in my car and called Thea. The kids okay? Perfect. Eating pizza and watching cartoons. What's next? Next? I started the engine. We find my brother. Veterans Affairs Hospital in Atlanta. The nurse confirmed. Your brother was admitted 3 months ago. Motorcycle accident. My knees buckled. Thea grabbed my elbow, steadying me. Why weren't his emergency contacts notified? I demanded. They were. Your parents visited several times in the first month. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. They knew. This whole time, they knew. Would you like his room number? 4 hours later, I stood outside room 412, trying to gather courage. Thea had stayed behind with the kids, sending me with a thermos of coffee and strict instructions to call immediately. I pushed open the door. Guillermo lay in bed, his right leg elevated, scrolling through his phone. His face lit up when he saw me. About time, sis. I rushed to hug him, careful of the tubes and wires. Why didn't you call me? They took my phone, my laptop, said they were handling everything. He grimaced. Told me you were too busy with your career to help. While they tried to sell your house out from under you. Yeah, got your email about that yesterday when they finally brought my stuff back. Had to wait for the nurse to help me access it. He gripped my hand. The kids? Safe, with Thea. Mom and Dad were arrested this morning. He closed his eyes. Damn. I knew they were in financial trouble, but this... How bad is it? I gestured to his leg. 3 more weeks of rehab. Could have been home already if I'd had proper care from the start. His jaw clenched. They pulled me out of the first rehab facility, said it was too expensive, moved me here where they could control everything. Control the story, you mean? They told everyone you were deployed. Classic Ruby and Eugene, he snorted. Always about appearances. A nurse entered with medication. Time for physical therapy, Mr. Russell. Wait. I pulled out my phone. The kids want to say hi. The video call connected. Sawyer's face filled the screen. Daddy! She screamed. August pushed his way into view, both kids talking over each other. Hey, munchkins. Guillermo's voice cracked. I've missed you so much. Are you coming home? August asked. Soon, buddy. Auntie April's going to help me get better. Promise you won't let Grandma and Grandpa take our house? Sawyer's lower lip trembled. Never, he promised. No one's taking our home. After saying goodbye, I followed Guillermo to physical therapy. He filled me in between exercises. Mom and Dad showed up right after the accident. Said they'd handle everything. Next thing I know, I'm signing papers while high on pain meds. The power of attorney. Must have been. Everything's fuzzy from that time. He winced as the therapist stretched his leg. By the time I realized something was wrong, they had control of everything. My accounts, my phone, even my military benefits. But why keep you here? Why not just forge your signature again? Too risky with the VA involved. Easier to keep me isolated and controlled. He managed a weak smile. They didn't count on my stubborn sister. My phone buzzed. A text from Taya. Police need statement. Parents requesting deal. No deals, Guillermo said, reading over my shoulder. They need to face consequences. The detective mentioned fraud charges, elder abuse, possibly federal charges for the VA fraud. Good. He gripped the parallel bars, taking tentative steps. You know what hurts most? They used you. Used the kids, their own family. Speaking of family, I showed him the real estate documents. Want to guess who the development company belongs to? No way. Uncle Robert, Mom's brother. The whole thing was a family scam. Guillermo stumbled. The therapist caught him. That's enough for today, she said firmly. Back in his room, I helped him settle in. 3 weeks? I asked. Give or take. Doctor says I'm healing well, just needed proper care all along. I'll get the house ready. The kids can't wait to have you home. April! He caught my hand. Thank you. For everything. That's what family's supposed to do. Actually, help each other. My phone buzzed again. The detective. Parents requesting meeting with children. How do you want to proceed? I showed Guillermo the message. Your call, he said. You're their guardian until I'm back. No, I replied to the message. No contact until court proceedings complete. They're going to lose everything, Guillermo mused. The house, their reputation, probably their freedom. They lost something way more valuable already, I said, putting my phone away. They lost us. He nodded, then grinned suddenly. Hey, since you're handling things, there's this nurse, Maria. She's been really kind. Maybe you could... One family drama at a time. Big brother. I laughed for the first time in weeks. One drama at a time. They want to what? I nearly dropped my coffee cup. The kids looked up from their breakfast, startled. Your parents are requesting a plea deal? Our lawyer, Marcus, repeated over the phone. They want to meet with you and Guillermo first, today. Absolutely not. Actually, he paused, this could work in our favor. They don't know Guillermo's being discharged this afternoon. I glanced at the calendar. 3 weeks had flown by, filled with hospital visits, lawyer meetings, and helping the kids process everything. What's the catch? I asked. No catch. They think they're negotiating from a position of strength. Let them believe that. 2 hours later, I sat in a conference room at the police station. Mom and Dad looked smaller somehow, their designer clothes replaced by department store basics. April. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled back. Don't, I warned. Just tell me why we're here. We want to make this right, Dad said. We've prepared a full confession, but we'd like to handle this privately. Keep it in the family. Family? I laughed bitterly. You mean like how you handled Guillermo's accident? Or selling his house while he was recovering? We were desperate. Mom's voice cracked. The investment scheme. We lost everything. Your Uncle Robert promised this development deal would fix everything. By stealing from your own son? We would have paid him back, Dad insisted, once the condos were built. The conference room door opened. Mom's words died in her throat. Guillermo stood there, leaning on a cane but very much alive and present. The color drained from my parents' faces. "Hey, Mom. Dad," he said coldly. "Miss me?" "But you're in Atlanta," Mom stammered. "Was in Atlanta, until my sister found me. You know, the daughter you called clueless?" Dad started to stand. "Son, we can explain." "Sit down." Guillermo's voice could have frozen hell. "You've done enough talking. Now you're going to listen." He limped to the table, dropping a thick folder between them. Complete records of everything. The forged documents, the fake deployment papers, the hospital transfer you arranged to isolate me, even the kickback arrangement with Uncle Robert. Mom began to cry. Dad stared at the table. "We have two options," Guillermo continued. "Option 1, we proceed with all charges. Fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, federal charges for the VA fraud, looking at 15 to 20 years each." "Please," Mom whispered. "We're your parents." "Option 2, he ignored her. "You sign over everything. Your house, your assets, your shares in Uncle Robert's company. All of it goes to a trust for the kids." "You can't," Dad started. "I can and I will. You tried to steal my children's future. Now you'll guarantee it." "We'll be left with nothing," Mom protested. "Like you plan to leave us?" I cut in. "Karma's funny that way." Guillermo slid another document across the table. "Full confession and asset transfer. Sign now or we walk out that door and let the prosecutors handle it." "You wouldn't," Dad challenged. "Try me." Guillermo's voice was steel. "You have 30 seconds. Mom grabbed the pen first, hands shaking as she signed. Dad hesitated longer, but followed suit when Guillermo stood to leave. "One more thing," I added. "You don't contact us. Ever. No calls, no letters, no surprise visits. The kids are off limits." "They're our grandchildren," Mom cried. "Should have thought of that before using them as pawns." I stood up. "Goodbye, Mom, Dad." Outside, Guillermo sagged against the wall. "You okay?" I steadied him. Better than okay. Free. He managed a smile. "Ready to see the kids? They've got a surprise for you at home." The surprise turned out to be a "Welcome Home Daddy" banner, slightly crooked and covered in glitter. Sawyer and August launched themselves at Guillermo the moment we walked in. "Careful of his leg," I cautioned, but he was already on the floor with them, hugging them tight. "Daddy, look!" August pointed to the window. "We planted flowers, and I kept your room clean," Sawyer added proudly. "Auntie April helped." Speaking of help, Thea appeared from the kitchen with Maria, the nurse from the hospital. "Dinner's ready." "You invited Maria?" Guillermo whispered to me, straightening his shirt. "She helped me coordinate your discharge. Seemed only fair to include her in the celebration." Later, after the kids were in bed and Maria had left, with Guillermo's phone number, Tia raised her glass. "To family," she toasted. "The real kind." "To Karma," I added. "To my sister," Guillermo finished. "The best kind of family anyone could ask for." My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Papers filed. Parents' assets transferred. It's done." I deleted the message without responding. Some chapters needed to stay closed. "Hey." Guillermo nudged me. "Stop thinking so hard. We won." He was right. We had won. But more importantly, we had survived together, and that was worth more than any house or money our parents could have stolen. "You're doing what?" Guillermo nearly choked on his coffee. "Starting a consulting business," I repeated, spreading brochures across his kitchen table. "Helping people protect themselves from financial fraud and family scams. 6 months had passed since our parents' downfall. Guillermo was walking without a cane. The kids were thriving, and I'd discovered my calling. Using your experience to help others, Maria chimed in, setting down a plate of pancakes. She practically lived here now. Not that anyone was complaining. It's brilliant. It's more than that. I pulled up my laptop. Look at these statistics. Elder fraud, family financial abuse, real estate scams. They're all increasing. People need someone who understands both sides. Both sides? Guillermo raised an eyebrow. The legal side and the emotional side. Most victims don't come forward because they're ashamed, because it's family. Sawyer wandered in, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Are you leaving us, Auntie April? Never, sweetie. I pulled her into my lap. But remember how some bad people tried to take Daddy's house? She nodded solemnly. Well, I'm going to help other families make sure that doesn't happen to them. Like a superhero. August appeared, his hair sticking up in all directions. Exactly like a superhero. Maria winked at me. Your aunt's going to save people. My phone buzzed. Thea. Meeting set with investors. They love the concept. Speaking of saving people, Guillermo said once the kids were occupied with breakfast. Did you see the news about Uncle Robert? I pulled up the article. The development company had collapsed, taking several investors down with it, including our parents' remaining assets. Karma's still working overtime, I mused. Ms. April? Our new nanny, Rachel, poked her head in. Your first client is here. I straightened my jacket and grabbed my briefcase. The elderly woman waiting in the living room clutched a familiar-looking folder. Thank you for seeing me. She twisted her hands. My son. He's trying to sell my house. Says it's for my own good, but something feels wrong. You're safe here. I sat beside her. Tell me everything. 2 hours later, I had a new client and a clear case of attempted fraud. As I walked her to her car, Thea pulled up. Ready for lunch? We need to prep for the investors. Actually, I gestured to my notes. I need a favor. Could you look into a property transfer in progress? Something's fishy. Already working on another case? She grinned. You're a natural. Back inside, Guillermo was helping the kids with an art project, while Maria prepared lunch. Your mother called the landline, he said quietly. My stomach clenched. What did she want? To apologize. Said she's in therapy, wants to make amends. And I told her we'd consider it. In about 20 years. I hugged him, paint from his shirt smearing on my blazer. You're getting soft, big brother. Nah, he smiled. Just happy, really happy. My phone buzzed again. A text from Marcus. Got another referral for you. Family trust dispute. Interested? Very, I replied. Auntie April, Sawyer called. Come see our painting. The kids had created a chaotic masterpiece, a family portrait. There was Guillermo, Maria, the kids, me, Thea, even Rachel. No sign of grandparents. It's our real family, August explained proudly. The ones who love us for real, Sawyer added. Maria wiped a tear, and even Guillermo looked emotional. Perfect timing. Thea walked in. Your investor meeting just got moved up. They want to fast-track the funding. Go, Guillermo urged. We've got this covered. But, April, Maria cut in, you helped save this family. Now go help save others. I grabbed my things, hugging everyone goodbye. At the door, I paused to look back at my chosen family. Guillermo and Maria helping with homework, the kids arguing over crayons, Thea already on the phone chasing leads. My phone lit up with another message, an unknown number. "We're sorry. Please let us see the kids. Mom." I blocked the number without hesitation. Some bridges needed to stay burned. "Ready?" Thea called from her car. "Ready?" I joined her, pulling out my presentation. "Let's go help some families." "You know," she said as we drove, "most people would have crumbled after what your parents did. Instead, you turned it into a mission." "That's the thing about betrayal," I replied, watching the city scroll past. "It either breaks you, or it builds you into something stronger." "And which are you?" I thought about the family we'd built from the ashes of betrayal, about the clients waiting for help, about the strength that comes from choosing love over blood. "Definitely stronger," I smiled. "Definitely built. And that's why we never trust someone just because they're family," I concluded, facing the packed conference room. "Trust is earned, not inherited." The audience applauded. As people filed out, a young woman lingered, clutching a notebook. "Ms. April?" Her hands trembled. "Your story. It's happening to me right now." Before I could respond, Thea appeared at my elbow. "Your brother's calling. Says it's urgent." "Give me 1 minute," I told her, then turned back to the woman. "Come to my office tomorrow. First consultation is free." Racing to my car, I called Guillermo back. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," he laughed, "but you need to get home. Now." I broke several speed limits getting to his house. The driveway was packed with cars, including Thea's, which I'd just left at the conference center. How had she beaten me here? The front door burst open before I could knock. Sawyer grabbed my hand, practically vibrating with excitement. "You're finally here! Come on!" Inside, the house was full of people. Clients I'd helped, families we'd protected, friends we'd made along the way. Maria stood by the fireplace, beaming. Guillermo had his arm around her, both dressed up more than usual. "What's going on?" "You've been so busy saving everyone else," Guillermo said. "You forgot what day it is." I blinked. "Tuesday?" "It's exactly 1 year since you found me in that hospital." He squeezed Maria's hand. 1 year since you saved our family. We couldn't let it pass without celebrating," Maria added. August appeared, carrying a large scrapbook. "Look what we made!" The book was filled with letters, photos, and newspaper clippings. Stories of families I'd helped, homes I'd saved, scams I'd stopped. In the center was the kid's family portrait, now professionally framed. "But that's not all." Thea stepped forward. "Tell her, Guillermo." My brother cleared his throat. "Remember Mom and Dad's house? The one they signed over?" I nodded. "Well, we're turning it into a shelter for families escaping financial abuse. Maria's running it, and your company will provide free consulting services." "The ultimate karma," Thea grinned, "using their house to help the people they tried to hurt." A small commotion at the door drew our attention. Marcus entered with an elderly couple, my first clients. "We had to come." The woman hugged me. "You saved our retirement, our home. Now we volunteer at the senior center, warning others about scams." More stories poured in. The single mom who almost lost her inheritance, the grandfather whose children tried to steal his business, the widow who nearly fell for a real estate scheme. All here, all safe, all stronger. "Speech!" someone called out. I looked around at these faces, survivors, fighters, family by choice rather than blood, "A year ago," I began, "I thought family meant obligation, meant letting people hurt you because you shared DNA. I was wrong." Guillermo squeezed my shoulder. "Family is what we build, not what we're born into. It's the choices we make, the trust we earn, the love we choose to give and receive." "And the pancakes we make," August interrupted, making everyone laugh. "Yes, buddy, especially the pancakes." I ruffled his hair. "But you know what the best part is?" "What?" Sawyer asked. "That sometimes the worst betrayals lead us to our best selves. My parents thought they were destroying us. Instead, they made us unbreakable." Maria raised her glass. "To being unbreakable." As everyone toasted, my phone buzzed. A news alert. Local investment firm indicted for fraud. Robert Morgan faces federal charges. I showed Guillermo the headline. "Should we send Mom and Dad a copy?" he asked dryly. "No need." I slipped the phone away. "They'll see it from their new apartment above the discount store." "Auntie April!" Sawyer tugged my sleeve. "Maria says she has a surprise." Maria stepped forward, glowing. "Well, since everyone's here, Guillermo and I are having a baby." The room erupted in cheers. As everyone congratulated them, I watched my niece and nephew dance around, already celebrating their future sibling. "You okay?" Thea appeared beside me. "Better than okay," I smiled. "We won. Really won." "Not just won," she corrected. "You turned winning into helping others win, too." The party continued into the evening. Stories were shared, plans were made, bonds were strengthened. Not once did anyone mention our parents or the past they'd tried to steal, because that's the thing about family, real family. It's not about who shares your past. It's about who helps you build your future. And our future? It was absolutely unbreakable.
I never meant to become the villain in my family's story. But standing outside my mother's new McMansion, listening to her conspire with my stepfather about hidden accounts and my inheritance, I realized I'd already been cast as one. My name is Serenity, and until 6 months ago, I was just another 29-year-old tech professional living my best life in Seattle. Now I'm the daughter both my parents want to erase from their carefully curated new lives. "We need to get her to sign those papers," my mother Genesis was saying, her voice drifting through the partially open window. "Larry's business partner is getting antsy about the transfers." "She'll sign," my stepfather Larry replied. "She's always been such a good girl, always doing what's expected." I pressed myself against the cool brick, my heart pounding. I'd only stopped by to drop off Mum's birthday gift, a ritual I maintained despite her increasing distance since remarrying 3 years ago. What if she asks questions? Mum's voice had that nervous edge I remembered from childhood, when she'd try to hide overdue bills from Dad. About the inheritance? Please, she probably doesn't even remember her grandmother mentioned those accounts. But I did remember. Grandma Helen had pulled me aside at her last Christmas, pressing a letter into my hands. "When you turn 30, sweetheart, not before. Promise me." She died 2 months later. The letter, still unopened, sat in my safe deposit box. My phone buzzed, a text from my father Elijah. "Need to discuss something important. Dinner tonight?" "Perfect timing, Dad. Really." I stepped away from the window and walked to my car, my gift bag still clutched in my hand. The expensive perfume inside suddenly seemed ridiculous. What do you give someone who's plotting to steal from you? 3 hours later, I sat across from my father at his favorite steakhouse, watching him cut into his medium-rare ribeye with precise movements. His new wife Vanessa was there too, of course. She never let him out of her sight these days. "Serenity, honey," he began, setting down his knife. "We've been thinking about your future." "That's funny," I said, pushing my salad around. So has Mom. He exchanged a quick glance with Vanessa. Oh? You've spoken to her recently? You could say that. I took a sip of water. Dad, what's this really about? Vanessa leaned forward, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. We're concerned about you, sweetheart. Always working such long hours at that computer job. No serious relationship, no real roots. I make 6 figures securing corporate networks, Vanessa. I'd call those pretty serious roots. What Vanessa means, Dad cut in, is that we think it might be time for you to consider a fresh start. Maybe use your grandmother's inheritance to buy a nice condo, settle down. The inheritance I'm not supposed to access until I turn 30. I watched his face carefully. Funny how everyone's suddenly so interested in that. Plans change, honey. Times change. And with Samuel's college fund needing attention... there it was. My 12-year-old stepbrother's future trumped my grandmother's wishes. Just like Penelope's private school tuition had somehow become tied to my mother's share of my inheritance. I need to use the ladies' room, I said, standing up. In the restroom, I gripped the marble counter and stared at my reflection. I had my mother's eyes and my father's stubborn jaw. Right now, both felt like curses. My phone buzzed again. A text from Harry, my best friend since college. How's dinner with the devil? I typed back, both devils are circling. Time to play their game? His response was immediate. You know I've got your back, whatever you need. I smiled at my reflection. In the mirror, I looked exactly like what they all thought I was. The good girl, the dutiful daughter, the one who'd sign whatever they put in front of her. They had no idea what I was capable of. Walking back to the table, I caught the tail end of their whispered conversation. Just like her mother, always questioning everything, Vanessa was saying. Dad shushed her as I approached. Everything okay, honey? I gave them my brightest smile. Perfect. Actually, I've been thinking about what you said, about fresh starts. Their relief was palpable. Dad reached for his wallet, probably to celebrate with an extra bottle of wine. I think it's time for all of us to face some truths, I continued, starting with what's really happening with those accounts. The color drained from my father's face. Vanessa's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. I picked up my purse. But that's a conversation for another night. I have some work to do first. As I walked out of the restaurant, my phone buzzed one final time. A text from my mother. Please call me, it's important. I bet it is, Mom. I bet it is. The next morning, I sat in my home office staring at my grandmother's letter. The paper felt delicate, like it might crumble under the weight of everything that had happened since she wrote it. My phone lit up with another message from Mom. Serenity, please. We need to talk. That made 15 unanswered texts since last night. I switched my phone to silent and opened my laptop instead. Time to see what my parents were so desperate to hide. You sure about this? Harry's voice crackled through my speakers as we connected on our secure line. Once you start digging, there's no going back. They already started this, I said, fingers flying across my keyboard. Did you get access to those records I asked about? Better. I found something weird in your stepdad's company filings. Multiple shell corporations, all registered within days of your mom's wedding. Send them over. While Harry transferred the files, I opened my banking app and pulled up Grandma's trust information. The balance made me catch my breath. 7 figures, all earmarked for my 30th birthday. No wonder they were circling like vultures. Got another hit, Harry said. Your dad's new construction business, the one Vanessa's always bragging about on Facebook. It's hemorrhaging money, but somehow they're still buying property all over the city. Money laundering? Looking that way. Want me to dig deeper? A knock at my door made me freeze. Through the security camera feed, I saw my stepsister Penelope shifting nervously on my welcome mat. Call you back, I told Harry, closing my laptop. I opened the door to find Penelope looking smaller than her 15 years, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Mum's freaking out, she blurted. She said you won't answer her calls. Shouldn't you be in school? It's Saturday. She pushed past me into the apartment. What's going on? Larry's been locked in his office all morning and Mum keeps crying. I studied her face, so young, so earnest. She had no idea she was just another pawn in their game. How'd you get here? I asked. Uber. She flopped onto my couch. Mom doesn't know I came. She thinks I'm at soccer practice. Penny, don't call me that. She sat up straighter. I'm not stupid, you know. I hear things, like how my tuition is coming from your money, not theirs. That stopped me cold. What exactly did you hear? Larry told Mom they needed you to sign something, or the school wouldn't get paid next semester. Her voice wavered. Is that true? Are they stealing from you? I sat beside her, choosing my words carefully. It's complicated. That's what adults always say when they're lying. She pulled out her phone, opened a video. I recorded something last night, after you didn't answer Mum's calls. The video was shaky, filmed through a crack in a door. Larry's voice came through clearly. If she starts asking questions about the offshore accounts, we're all screwed. Not just us. Your ex-husband too. You think Elijah's new family would survive that scandal? My mother's response was tearful. She wouldn't. She's not that kind of person. Everyone's that kind of person when millions are involved. I looked at Penelope, saw the hurt in her eyes. Does Mom know you have this? She shook her head. I didn't know who else to show. You're the only one who ever tells me the truth. My phone buzzed again. A text from my father. Meeting with the lawyers Monday. Very important you attend. What are you going to do? Penelope asked. I thought about Grandma Helen, about her final Christmas. She'd known something wasn't right. That's why she'd written the letter. First, I said, I'm going to read something I should have read months ago. I retrieved the letter from my office, sat back down beside Penelope. The envelope opened easily, as if it had been waiting for this moment. Dear Serenity, I read aloud. If you're reading this, you've either turned 30 or you've discovered what your parents are capable of. The money I've left you isn't just an inheritance, it's protection. They'll try to take it, claim they need it for noble reasons. Don't let them. Some people only show their true colors when there's green involved. Penelope leaned against my shoulder as I continued reading. The letter, detailed account numbers, passwords, evidence of years of financial manipulation by both my parents. Holy shit, Penelope whispered. Language, I said automatically, but my mind was racing. Grandma hadn't just left me money, she'd left me ammunition. My phone buzzed one final time. Harry. Found something big. You need to see this now. I looked at Penelope, saw my own determination reflected in her eyes. Want to help me take down some adults who think they're smarter than they are? She grinned. Hell yes. Language, I said again, but this time I was smiling too. The game was changing, and I finally had all the pieces I needed to play. Your parents are running a pyramid scheme, Harry announced, spreading documents across my dining room table. And not a very clever one. After getting Penelope safely home via Uber, with a promise to keep her updated, I'd invited Harry over to show me his findings in person. 3 hours and 2 pizza boxes later, the scope of my parents' deception was becoming clear. Look at this, Harry pointed to a spreadsheet. Your stepdad Larry creates shell companies. Your dad Elijah's construction business renovates empty properties for these companies. Your mum and Vanessa's interior design firms then stage and flip the properties. But the properties don't exist, I finished, seeing the pattern. Bingo. They're washing money through fake real estate deals. The only question is, whose money? My laptop pinged with an alert. I'd set up monitoring on my parents' email accounts, not strictly legal, but neither was what they were doing. Speaking of questions, I said, opening the new email. Look who's getting nervous. The message was from Larry to my father. She knows something. Meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m., usual place. Bring the papers. Harry whistled. The usual place? The Riverside Club. I pulled up the club's membership records. They both joined 3 years ago, right after Dad's wedding to Vanessa. Monthly dues are more than my mortgage. Perfect place to plan financial crimes over overpriced scotch. I started typing. The club's security is a joke. I'm in their camera system. There. I turned the screen to show Harry. They meet in that private room every Thursday. Tomorrow's special, just for me. What's your play? Before I could answer, my doorbell rang. Through the security feed, I saw Samuel, my 12-year-old stepbrother, shifting anxiously in the hallway. What is this, Grand Central Station for step-siblings? I muttered, but went to let him in. Samuel burst in as soon as I opened the door. Dad's going crazy, he blurted. He and Vanessa were fighting about you, and then he started shredding papers in his office and... He stopped, noticing Harry. Oh, hi. This is Harry, I said. He's helping me with... a project. Samuel's eyes darted between us. Is this about the money? Because I heard Vanessa tell Dad that my college fund isn't real. My heart sank. What do you mean? She said it was just for show, to convince some people they were legitimate, whatever that means. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. I grabbed this before Dad could shred it. The document was a bank statement showing transfers between multiple accounts, all with identical balances. Classic money laundering. Samuel, I said carefully, does your dad know you took this? He shook his head. I'm not stupid. I know something bad's happening. That's why I came to you. Harry cleared his throat. Kids got good instincts. I want to help, Samuel insisted. They think because I'm always gaming, I don't notice things. But I do. An idea formed. Those cameras you use for your Twitch streams, I said, the tiny ones that clip onto anything. His eyes lit up. Yeah? Think you could get one into your dad's office? Serenity, Harry warned. That's risky. More risky than what they're doing to these kids. I gestured to the documents. They're using Samuel's college fund as a front. They used Penelope's tuition to pressure me. They're dragging our siblings into their mess. Samuel pulled out his phone. I can do better than one camera. I can get you his whole desktop. Dad uses the same password for everything. Vanessa's birthday. Amateur move, right? I couldn't help but laugh. You really do notice things. So I can help? I shared a look with Harry, who shrugged. He's already involved. Okay, I said, but we do this smart. No risks. Harry and I handle anything illegal. Ha, so you are doing illegal stuff. And you stay safe. Deal? He held out his hand solemnly. Deal. After setting Samuel up with secure communication channels and sending him home with a cover story about needing help with his math homework, I turned back to Harry. Tomorrow at the club, I said. I think it's time to crash their meeting. How? You're not a member. I pulled up the club's employee records. No, but their new bartender is. Started last week. Funny how they never actually interviewed her in person. Harry grinned. You didn't? Amazing what you can do with the right paperwork and a good reference. I closed my laptop. Tomorrow we find out exactly what they're planning with those papers they want me to sign. And then, I thought about Penelope's worried face, Samuel's stolen document, my grandmother's warning letter. Then we make sure they never hurt anyone else with their schemes. My phone buzzed, a text from Mum. Please come to the meeting tomorrow. We can explain everything. Oh, they'd explain all right, just not in the way they were planning. The Riverside Club service uniform itched, and the contact lens camera Harry had given me kept making my eye water. But as I arranged glasses on my serving tray, I had a perfect view of my father and Larry settling into their private room. Water with lemon for Mr. Ellis, I murmured in my practiced Australian accent, setting down their drinks. And scotch, neat, for Mr. Thompson. Neither looked up. They were too engrossed in their papers to notice their bartender was their daughter in a wig. The lawyers are ready, Dad was saying. Once she signs, the trust transfers immediately. Larry swirled his scotch. And Genesis is sure about her grandmother's letter. She never opened it. That's what's driving her crazy. She thinks Serenity knows something. Gentlemen, a new voice interrupted. Vanessa swept in, designer handbag swinging. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was horrible. I turned to leave, but Vanessa caught my arm. Another scotch, dear, and make it quick. In the service corridor, I pressed my earpiece. "Harry, you getting this?" "Crystal clear," his voice crackled back. "Samuel came through too. Just sent footage from your dad's office. You're not going to believe what Vanessa's been up to. Tell me later, they're pulling out more papers." Back in the room, the atmosphere had shifted. Vanessa was pacing, her heels clicking against the hardwood. "Samuel was in your office," she snapped at my father. "That little sneak was going through your papers." Dad's face paled. "What?" "I checked the security footage. He took something, Elijah. A bank statement." "Jesus Christ," Larry muttered. "Can't you control your kid?" "He's 12, Dad protested. "He probably didn't understand." "He's 12, not stupid," Vanessa cut in. "Unlike some people at this table." I nearly dropped my tray. In my ear, Harry whispered, "Steady." "What's that supposed to mean?" Larry demanded. Vanessa pulled out her phone. "It means while you two were playing businessman, I was actually protecting our interests. Show them the numbers, Larry. Show them what you've really been doing with the construction funds." Larry's face turned red. "Now wait a minute." "Oh, I've waited. I've watched you siphon money from our accounts for months. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I ran 3 successful businesses before I married Elijah. I know fraud when I see it." Dad stood up so fast his chair toppled. "You're stealing from us." "More scotch," I offered brightly, stepping between them. "Get out," Vanessa snapped. I retreated to the door, but lingered, watching the scene unfold. "It's not stealing," Larry was saying. "I was investing." "In what?" Vanessa laughed. "Your girlfriend's boutique in Vancouver." The room went silent. In my ear, Harry whispered, "Plot twist." "What girlfriend?" my father asked quietly. Larry's face was now purple. "You had me followed." "Of course I did. I follow everyone." Vanessa turned to my father. "Including your weekly visits to Genesis." I almost gave myself away with a gasp. Dad was meeting Mom in secret. "That's different," Dad protested. "We're discussing Serenity's inheritance. You're discussing how to steal it." Vanessa slammed her hand on the table. "Did you think I wouldn't find out about that too? The offshore accounts, the fake college funds, all of it." "Keep recording," Harry urged in my ear. "This is gold." "You don't understand," Larry tried again. "The business needs—" "The business is a front," Vanessa spat, "just like this whole charade. Well, I'm done playing along. Either we do this my way, or I take everything I know to the SEC. Dad sank into his chair. "What do you want?" "Simple. We get Serenity's signature tomorrow, transfer the money before she turns 30, and then—" She smiled coldly. "We all go our separate ways, with equal shares." "Genesis won't agree," Dad said. "Genesis doesn't have a choice." "None of you do." Vanessa gathered her papers. "Meeting's over. Don't forget to tip the help." She brushed past me with a dismissive glance. Larry and my father sat in stunned silence. In the service corridor, I pressed my earpiece again. "Harry?" "Yeah?" "Remember how I wasn't sure about going nuclear on them? Changed your mind?" I watched through the door as my father buried his face in his hands, while Larry drained his scotch with shaking fingers. "They're not just trying to steal my inheritance," I said. "They're destroying each other to get it, and dragging our siblings into their mess." "So what's the plan?" Through the door, I heard Larry mutter, "What are we going to do?" My father's response was clear. "Whatever we have to. We can't let Serenity find out about any of this." I smiled grimly. "The plan? We give them exactly what they want. A meeting tomorrow with all of them present. One big, happy family reunion. And then? And then we show them what happens when you underestimate the help." The morning of the big meeting, I found Penelope waiting outside my apartment again. This time, she wasn't alone. "Samuel showed me the footage," she said, pushing past me. Samuel followed, clutching his laptop. "We've got more." "You two shouldn't be here," I started, but Samuel was already setting up his computer on my kitchen counter. "Mum's been meeting your dad in secret for months," Penelope said. "Not just about the inheritance. Look," Samuel pulled up a video. The timestamp showed 3 a.m. last night, security footage from his father's home office. My mother was there, frantically searching through desk drawers while my father kept watch at the door. "Where is it?" Mum's voice was panicked. "The original contract has to be here somewhere." "Genesis, we need to go," Dad urged. "If Vanessa wakes up, she already knows everything," Mum snapped. "Your wife's been playing us all, Elijah. She's got proof of every transaction, every fake company, every—" She stopped, pulling out a thick folder. "Found it. Is that? The original trust agreement, the one we altered." She shoved it in her bag. "Now we just need Serenity's signature on the new version and—" The video cut off. Samuel closed his laptop. "There's more, but you get the idea. They altered Grandma's trust agreement." My voice sounded strange, even to me. "That's not all," Penelope said. "After Mum got home last night, Larry started calling all these overseas numbers. I recorded some of the conversations." She pulled out her phone. "He's planning to run. Tonight, after the meeting. He's got a plane waiting." My phone buzzed. "Harry. In position at the law office. You need to see this email chain between your dad and the lawyers. They're planning to declare you mentally incompetent if you don't sign." I looked at my step-siblings. These kids caught in the crossfire of adult greed. "You should go home. What's about to happen? It won't be pretty." "We're already involved," Samuel said. "They used us as props in their schemes. We deserve to see how it ends. Besides," Penelope added, "we've got one more bomb to drop." She pulled up another video on her phone. "Remember how I said Vanessa knows everything? Look who she's been meeting with." The video showed Vanessa in a coffee shop, sitting across from a familiar face, my grandmother's former lawyer. "She found the real will," Samuel explained. "The one they hid when your grandmother died. Vanessa's been sitting on it for months, waiting for the right moment to use it against them. That's why she was so confident at the club yesterday," I realized. "She's got proof they committed actual fraud." "And she's willing to bury it," Penelope said, "for a price." My phone buzzed again. "Mom, on our way to the lawyers. Please be there, sweetheart. Let us explain everything." Then Dad, "Almost there. Remember, we love you. This is all for your own good." Finally, Vanessa, "Don't be late. Wouldn't want to miss the family reunion." I looked at the time. 1 hour until the meeting that would change everything. "Okay," I said to my step-siblings, "if you're going to be part of this, we do it right. Here's what we need." 45 minutes later, I walked into the law officer's conference room. Harry was already there, posing as a junior partner. Mum, Dad, Larry, and Vanessa sat around the massive table, all trying to avoid eye contact with each other. "Serenity," Mum stood up. "Thank God you came." "Of course I came." I sat down, placing my laptop on the table. "I wouldn't miss this for the world." "Before we begin," the lead lawyer said, "we need to discuss the terms of the trust transfer." "Actually," I interrupted, opening my laptop, "I think we need to discuss a few other things first." I pressed a button, and the room's large display screen flickered to life. Like this video from the club yesterday, or these recordings from last night. Or maybe, I smiled at Vanessa, we should talk about the real will you've been hiding. The color drained from every face in the room. "How did you," Larry started, "or we could discuss the fake companies, the money laundering, the altered trust agreement. I've got it all. Every scheme, every lie, every betrayal." "Serenity," Dad pleaded, "let us explain." "Oh, you'll explain. To the SEC, the IRS, and anyone else interested in what you've been doing. Unless..." "Unless what?" Vanessa demanded. I pulled out a stack of papers. "Unless you sign these, all of you, right now." "What are they?" Mum asked, voice trembling. "Your confessions, your resignations from any company boards, and legally binding agreements to transfer control of all assets to a trust, one that will actually support Samuel and Penelope's education, not just pretend to." "You're blackmailing us," Larry sputtered. "No," I said calmly. "I'm giving you a choice, more than you ever gave me." The room fell silent as my words sank in. Outside the conference room, I caught a glimpse of Samuel and Penelope watching through the glass, phones raised, recording everything. Time for the final act to begin. "You can't do this," Larry was the first to break the silence. "You're bluffing." I clicked to the next slide on the screen. Security footage showed him meeting his girlfriend outside a Vancouver bank. "Am I? Let's ask your girlfriend about those transfers. I'm sure the Canadian authorities would love to chat with her too." "Serenity," Mum reached across the table. "Sweetheart, we were trying to protect you." "By stealing from me." I played the video of her and Dad in his office. "By conspiring to declare me mentally incompetent." "That was Vanessa's idea," Dad blurted. Vanessa's perfectly manicured nails drummed the table. "Really, Elijah? Throwing me under the bus already?" She turned to me. "You think you're so clever, don't you? But you've overlooked one thing." "The real will?" I smiled as her confidence faltered. "The one you found and kept secret. Check your phone." She grabbed her phone, face paling as she read the message that had just arrived. Security footage of her meeting with Grandma's lawyer, followed by bank records of her subsequent payoff to him. "How did you—" "You're not the only one who knows how to follow people." I nodded toward the glass wall where Samuel and Penelope still watched. Amazing what kids notice when adults think they're not paying attention. "You involved the children?" Mom looked horrified. "How could you? How could I?" I slammed my hand on the table. "You used their futures as leverage. You created fake college funds to launder money. You made them accomplices to your crimes." Harry, still playing his role as the junior partner, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should focus on the documents that need signing." "I'm not signing anything." Larry stood up. "This is ridiculous. Genesis, let's go." "Sit down," Vanessa snapped. "Unless you want everyone to know about the money you've been stealing from our accounts, including your girlfriend." "You knew?" Mom's voice was small. "Of course I knew. I know everything." Vanessa reached for the papers I'd brought. "Where do I sign?" "Vanessa, don't—" Dad started. "Wake up, Elijah. She has us, all of us." Vanessa grabbed a pen. "The only question is whether we walk away with something or nothing." I slid the papers toward each of them. "Sign, and you keep enough to live comfortably. Not wealthy, but comfortable. Refuse, and everything goes to the authorities. Your choice." "What about the children?" Mom asked. "Penelope's school. The trust will cover their education, their real education, not your money-laundering front." I met her eyes. "They deserve better than what you've done to them." One by one they signed. Larry first, already planning his escape. Vanessa next, practical to the end. Dad, shoulders slumped in defeat. Finally Mom, tears smudging her signature. "It's done," Harry said, gathering the papers. "I'll file these immediately." "Wait," Dad said. "What happens now?" I stood up, gathering my things. "Now, you all have 24 hours to resign from your positions, transfer the specified assets, and begin making amends. The trust will be managed by an independent board, no family members allowed." "And if we don't?" Larry challenged. I nodded toward the glass wall. Samuel and Penelope held up their phones, still recording. "Then everything we've discussed goes public. Every video, every document, every secret." I headed for the door. "Your reputations, your freedom, your futures, they're in your hands now, just like mine was in yours." "Serenity," Mom called out. "Please, we're still family." I turned back one last time. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't conspire and betray and lie. You taught me that, just not in the way you intended. Outside the conference room, Samuel and Penelope were waiting. "Did they sign?" Samuel asked. "They signed." I hugged them both. "You'll be okay now. The trust will make sure of it." "What about you?" Penelope asked. "What will you do now?" Through the glass, I watched my parents and their spouses sitting in stunned silence, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them. "Now, I'm going to do what Grandma Helen wanted, use the money to help people, starting with kids who've been caught in their parents' crossfire." My phone buzzed one last time. Harry, sending confirmation that the papers were being filed. "Come on," I said to my step-siblings. Let's get ice cream. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. Why? What happens tomorrow? Samuel asked. I smiled, thinking of the press release already scheduled, the non-profit paperwork ready to file, the story about to break. Tomorrow we start making things right. Behind us, raised voices erupted from the conference room as reality finally sank in. But we didn't look back. Some families are built on blood, others on choices. Today, we'd chosen truth over lies, justice over greed, and each other over everything else. It wasn't the happy ending they'd planned, but maybe it was the one we all needed. The press conference wasn't my idea. Harry insisted we needed to go public before anyone could spin the story their way. So here I stood, 24 hours later, facing a room full of reporters while my family's carefully constructed facade crumbled in real time. Ms. Hicks, a reporter called out, "Can you confirm the allegations about your stepfather's involvement in international money laundering?" "Larry Thompson resigned from all his positions this morning," I replied, gripping the podium. "The evidence has been turned over to the relevant authorities." Another hand shot up. "What about the claims that your father and his wife created fake charitable foundations?" "All I can say is that the foundations in question have been dissolved and legitimate educational trusts have been established for the minor children involved." The doors at the back of the room burst open. Mom stormed in, mascara streaked down her face. "Serenity, stop this, please." Security moved to intercept her, but I held up my hand. "Let her speak." "How could you?" She reached the podium, grabbing my arm. "Everything we did was for you. Was it?" I turned to face her, aware of cameras capturing every moment. "Was it for me when you altered Grandma's will? When you planned to declare me incompetent? When you used Penelope's future as leverage? You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I held up my phone, playing the recording from yesterday's meeting. Her voice filled the room. Once she signs, the trust transfers immediately. The reporters erupted in questions. Mum stumbled back, reality hitting her as cameras flashed. "Ladies and gentlemen," I addressed the room, "this press conference isn't about exposing crimes. It's about announcing solutions." I nodded to Harry, who started the presentation behind me. "Today, I'm launching the Helen's Hope Foundation, named after my grandmother. We'll provide legal and financial support to young adults whose inheritance or financial futures have been compromised by family fraud." "Is this revenge?" someone called out. "No," I said firmly. "This is justice and prevention." I clicked to the next slide, showing Penelope and Samuel's smiling faces. These are real lives affected by financial fraud, real futures almost destroyed by adult greed. "Serenity," Mom tried again, softer now. "We can fix this, as a family." "We are fixing it." I gestured to the back of the room where Penelope and Samuel stood with Harry. "Just not the way you planned." The doors burst open again. This time, it was Dad and Vanessa, followed by Larry. "You've made your point," Dad called out. "Now stop this circus." "Actually," Harry stepped forward, "she hasn't even started. Would you like to explain the offshore accounts, or should we play the recordings?" Larry pushed forward. "You little." "Choose your next words carefully," I cut in. "Remember those papers you signed? One wrong move and everything goes public, not just the recordings, everything." The room had gone silent, reporters frantically taking notes as my family's drama unfolded live. "Now," I continued, addressing both the press and my family, "let's talk about the future. The Helen's Hope Foundation will launch next month with an initial endowment of $10 million, the very money you tried to steal." "That money was meant for family," Vanessa protested. "It still is." I clicked to the final slide, showing the Foundation's first initiative. "We're starting with a program specifically designed to help blended families navigate financial transparency and trust, something we clearly needed." "You can't do this," Dad said weakly. "Actually, I can, and I am." I turned back to the reporters. "The Foundation will be overseen by an independent board, including financial experts, family law specialists, and 2 very bright teenagers who showed me what real family loyalty looks like. Penelope and Samuel stepped forward, joining me at the podium. Mom made a choke sound, seeing her daughter stand with me. "Any questions?" I asked the room. Dozens of hands shot up, but before I could choose one, Larry made a break for the door. 2 FBI agents stepped in to block his path. "Oh, right," I added casually. "I should mention that the authorities have some questions about certain international transactions. They'll be conducting interviews immediately following this press conference." The room erupted in chaos. Reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, my parents and their spouses being approached by stern-faced agents. "Ready to go?" Harry appeared at my side. I looked at my family one last time, not the adults who had betrayed me, but the siblings who had chosen truth over comfort. "Yeah," I said, taking Penelope and Samuel's hands. "Let's get out of here. We've got a foundation to build." As we left through the side door, I heard Mom call out one last time, "Serenity, please." But I kept walking. Sometimes the only way to fix a broken family is to build a new one from the pieces that still tell the truth. Behind us, the press conference dissolved into a frenzy of questions and accusations. But we were already moving forward, toward something better than revenge, toward justice, toward healing, toward hope. The morning sun streamed through the Foundation's office windows as I reviewed applications with Harry. 3 days after the press conference, and we'd already received hundreds of requests for help. "This one's interesting," Harry said, sliding a file across my desk. "Girl in Phoenix, stepmom trying to redirect her college fund into a family business." My phone buzzed, a text from Samuel. "Dad took the plea deal." Before I could respond, Penelope burst into the office. "Mum's here, she's in the lobby." I exchanged looks with Harry. "Want me to send her away?" he offered. "No." I stood up. "It's time." Mom looked smaller somehow, sitting in the lobby's modern chairs. No designer outfit today, just jeans and a simple blouse. She jumped up when she saw me. "I didn't think you'd see me," she said. "Almost didn't." I sat across from her. "Larry's taking a plea deal." "I know." She twisted her wedding ring. "I'm filing for divorce." Turns out he was stealing from me long before any of this started. Karma's funny that way. "Serenity, She stopped, noticing Penelope hovering nearby. "Could we talk privately?" "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of her." I gestured for Penelope to join us. "She's earned that much." Mum's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry. To both of you. I got caught up in the lifestyle, the prestige. I forgot what really mattered." "Like your daughters?" Penelope's voice cracked. "Yes." Mom reached for her hand. "Starting with you, I've already contacted your school, told them the truth about everything. They're letting you keep your scholarship. Your real one, not the fake one Larry created." My phone buzzed again. "Samuel, Vanessa's leaving too. Can I come stay with you sometimes?" "The kids are the priority now," I told Mum. "Whatever happens next, they come first." "I know." She pulled an envelope from her purse. "That's why I brought this. The original trust agreement, the real one. I found it in Larry's safe." I took the envelope, feeling its weight. "Why now?" "Because you were right. About everything." She looked around the Foundation's lobby, at the mission statement painted on the wall. "Protecting tomorrow's legacy today." "You're doing what I should have done. Protecting what matters." The elevator dinged. Dad stepped out, looking as worn as Mom. He froze when he saw us. "Elijah," Mom said quietly. "Genesis." He approached slowly. "I just signed the divorce papers. Vanessa, she's been working with the FBI, turning evidence. Smart woman," I said, "always playing all sides." "I deserve that." He sat heavily in a nearby chair. "I deserve all of this." "No," I corrected him. "You deserve consequences. There's a difference." Harry appeared in my office doorway, holding more files. "Sorry to interrupt, but we've got that video call with the Phoenix girl in 5 minutes." I stood up. "You both need to leave. But first, I handed them each a business card. These are good therapists, family counseling specialists. Use them. Can we... Mum hesitated. Can we try to fix things? Somehow? I looked at Penelope, who nodded slightly. Maybe. Eventually. But not today. Today, I have other families to help. I understand. Mum stood, hugging Penelope tightly. I'm so proud of you both, even if you don't believe me yet. They left separately, shoulders bowed under the weight of consequences finally caught up. You okay? Harry asked as we walked back to my office. Actually, yeah. I picked up the Phoenix Girls file. Ready to help someone else's family avoid our mistakes. The video call connected, showing a nervous teenage face. Ms. Hicks, I'm Maya. Thank you for talking to me. Call me Serenity. I sat down, Penelope settling into the chair beside me. Tell us your story. As Maya began speaking, I glanced at the framed photo on my desk, Grandma Helen at her last Christmas, smiling knowingly. She'd seen this coming, prepared for it, made sure I'd have the tools to not just survive but thrive. My phone lit up with a final text from Samuel. Dad's crying. Think he finally gets it? I typed back. Good, that's where healing starts. Then I turned back to Maya, ready to help write a different ending to another family's story. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. Creating something better, something stronger, something true. And truth, unlike family fortunes, compounds with interest. Okay, Maya, I said, opening my notebook. Let's talk about protecting your future, because that's what family should have been doing all along.
I never expected to discover my husband's true nature while hiding behind a potted ficus tree in our living room. Yet there I was, crouched behind its leaves at midnight, watching Chase pace back and forth with his phone pressed to his ear. My name is Willa, and until that moment, I thought I had a pretty good handle on my life. I'm an elementary school teacher, married to what I believed was a devoted husband, and expecting our first child. But life has a way of shattering your certainties when you least expect it. Look, Mom, Douglas's death changes everything, Chase whispered into his phone, unaware of my presence. Willa's too emotional right now to think clearly about the inheritance. This is our chance. I pressed my hand against my mouth, stifling a gasp. My father had passed away just 2 weeks ago, and here was my husband, plotting something about my inheritance in the middle of the night. No, listen, he continued, his voice taking on that smooth, persuasive tone I used to find charming. Once the shares are transferred, we can push for a quick sale. The company's worth millions. Willa doesn't need to know the details until it's done. My legs started cramping from squatting, but I didn't dare move. I'd only come downstairs for a glass of water, but Chase's furtive whispers had stopped me in my tracks. Of course I feel bad about it, he said, running his fingers through his hair, a gesture I now realized might have been more calculating than nervous. But think about it. We could finally get you and Dad out of debt. Get that house in Palm Springs you've always wanted. The room started spinning slightly. I steadied myself against the wall, my other hand instinctively moving to my barely showing baby bump. 5 years of marriage, and I'd never heard this tone in Chase's voice before. Cold, calculating, almost predatory. Just keep this between us for now, he continued. I've already talked to Leonard about the legal angles. We just need to wait for the right moment to suggest it to Willa. You know how she gets about her father's legacy. I did get emotional about my father's legacy because it mattered. Because Dad had built his automotive company from nothing, working 16-hour days while still making time to teach me piano every Sunday. Because he believed in hard work and integrity above all else. Chase ended the call and headed upstairs. I waited until his footsteps faded before emerging from my hiding spot, my water forgotten. The moonlight streaming through our bay windows felt harsh now, highlighting all the expensive furniture Chase had insisted we needed. Furniture that, I realized with growing nausea, had been bought with my family's money. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Jenna, my best friend since college. Can't sleep?
Saw you were online.
Everything okay? I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. How could I possibly explain what had just happened? That my husband was plotting to steal my inheritance while I carried his child? That the man I trusted with my heart was apparently nothing more than a well-dressed con artist? Instead, I typed, "Need to talk. Breakfast tomorrow? Important." Her response came immediately. Usual place, 7 a.m. Should I be worried? I looked around our living room at all the carefully curated photos of our perfect life together. Chase and me on our honeymoon in Bali. At our wedding, where he'd charmed everyone with his tearful vows. Family gatherings where he'd played the devoted son-in-law to perfection. Not worried, I wrote back. Just angry. And planning. The morning after discovering Chase's betrayal, I sat across from Jenna at our favorite breakfast spot, methodically shredding a napkin while she processed everything I'd just told her. The cafe buzzed with its usual morning crowd, but all I could hear was Chase's voice from last night, plotting to steal my inheritance. That manipulative bastard. Jenna finally said, her lawyer mode kicking in. Have you checked your joint accounts? Your personal accounts? I nodded, pulling out my phone. Already did. Nothing seems off yet, but I paused as my screen lit up with a text from Chase. Having lunch with Mom and Dad today. They want to discuss some investment opportunities for the inheritance. Join us. My stomach churned. They're moving faster than I thought, I said, showing Jenna the message. She leaned back, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. You know what's interesting? Chase's law firm specializes in corporate acquisitions. I looked them up after you called. What are you saying? I'm saying this might be bigger than just Chase and his parents. Have you noticed anyone unusual hanging around your father's company lately? Before I could answer, the cafe door chimed. My mother-in-law Maureen's voice carried across the room, making me freeze mid-sentence. Willa, what a surprise. Jenna's eyes widened slightly, but I managed to smile as Maureen approached our table, designer purse swinging. She'd clearly just had her hair done. Probably on Chase's credit card, I realized bitterly. Just grabbing breakfast with Jenna, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. How are you? Oh, wonderful. And you're looking so pregnant and glowy, Maureen gushed, patting my stomach without asking. Chase told me you might join us for lunch today. We have such exciting ideas to discuss. I felt Jenna's foot press against mine under the table, a silent reminder to stay calm. Actually, I have a doctor's appointment. I lied smoothly. Routine checkup. But surely you can reschedule? This is about your future, your baby's future. Maureen's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened slightly. The baby's future is exactly why I can't miss it, I replied, gathering my things. Maybe next time. As we left the cafe, Jenna grabbed my arm. Okay, that was not a coincidence. She was checking up on you. Chase must have tracked my location through our shared account, I realized. I need to change my settings. You need to do more than that, Jenna said firmly. You need to protect yourself legally before they can make any moves on the company shares. My phone buzzed again, another text from Chase. Mom said she saw you at breakfast. Everything okay? You seem distant lately. I stared at the message, remembering how Chase used to send me random texts throughout the day just to make me smile. Now each word felt calculated, part of some elaborate performance. I don't know how to keep pretending everything's normal, I admitted to Jenna. Every time he touches me or asks about the baby, I feel sick. Then don't pretend, Jenna said. Use it. Let him think you're struggling with grief over your dad. It'll buy us time to figure out exactly what they're planning. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a call from my mother, Lorraine. Honey, are you sitting down? I just got some interesting information about Chase's firm that you need to hear. I put the phone on speaker, meeting Jenna's concerned gaze. My mother's voice was tight with controlled anger as she continued. Remember that merger Dad was fighting against before he died? Guess which law firm is representing the buyers? The pieces suddenly clicked into place. This wasn't just about inheritance. This was about my father's entire legacy. And my husband had been working against him the whole time. I have to go, I told them both. I need to get home before Chase realizes something's wrong. But first, I'm stopping by the bank. What are you going to do? Jenna asked. I thought about Chase's smooth lies, Maureen's calculating eyes, and my father's dreams for his company. I'm going to protect what's mine, I said. And then I'm going to make them regret ever underestimating me. After a week of playing detective in my own home, I finally found what I was looking for in Chase's home office. My hands trembled as I held the documents, merger proposals, confidential emails, and draft agreements, all dated months before my father's death. The corporate logo at the top of each page felt like a slap in the face. Bennett and Associates, the firm where my husband had worked for the past 3 years. The office door creaked behind me. I whirled around to find Chase standing there, his expression unreadable. "Looking for something specific?" he asked, voice eerily calm. I held up the papers. "How long were you planning this? Before or after Dad got sick?" "It's not what you think, Willa." He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "The merger would save the company. Your father was too stubborn to see it." "Too stubborn." My voice cracked. "He built that company from nothing. He trusted you. And I'm trying to protect his legacy." Chase moved closer, reaching for my hand. I stepped back, bumping into his desk. "The market's changing. Without this merger, the company won't survive another 5 years. Don't." I pressed my hand against my stomach, feeling our baby kick. "Don't pretend this is about protecting anything except your commission." His face hardened. "You're emotional. The pregnancy hormones. Don't you dare." The rage I'd been suppressing burst free. "I found the transfer documents, Chase. Already filled out, just waiting for my signature. Were you going to forge that too?" Something flickered in his eyes. Not guilt, but annoyance at being caught. "Your father's death changed everything. We had to move quickly."
We.
I laughed bitterly. "You mean you and your parents? How much are they getting from this deal?" The sound of the front door opening interrupted us. "Chase? Willa?" Maureen's voice floated up the stairs. "We brought lunch." Chase grabbed my arm. "Don't make a scene. Not now. Think about the baby." I yanked away from him. "That's exactly what I'm thinking about." "There you are." Maureen appeared in the doorway, Leonard behind her. Her smile faltered when she saw the papers in my hand.
Oh.
"Are those the merger documents? Wonderful. We can discuss everything over lunch." "Actually," I said, straightening my spine, "I just got off the phone with the board members." A lie, but worth it to see Chase's face pale. Interesting how none of them knew about these negotiations. Leonard stepped forward, all smooth charm. "Now, Willa, business decisions can be complicated. Like the decision to hide your firm's involvement from my father while he was dying?" I watched their practiced smiles crack. "Or the decision to use my pregnancy as cover while you rush through this deal?" "You're making a mistake," Chase said quietly. "This merger is happening, with or without your cooperation." I thought about my father, working late nights, teaching me that integrity mattered more than quick profits. About my mother's warning, and Jenna's legal advice. "You're right about one thing," I said, pulling out my phone. "Something is happening today." I pressed play on the recording app that had been running since I entered the office. Chase's earlier words filled the room. "The market's changing. Without this merger." "You recorded me?" Chase's charm vanished completely. "That's illegal." "Actually," I said, "in this state, it's perfectly legal to record conversations you're part of. But insider trading and attempted fraud? Those are definitely illegal." Maureen stepped toward me, hands raised placatingly. "Darling, let's all calm down. I've already sent copies to the board, the SEC, and my lawyers," I continued. Another lie, but I'd be doing it the moment I left. "So here's what's going to happen. You're all going to leave my house. Now." "This is my house too," Chase snapped. "Check the deed," I replied. "Dad put it in my name as a wedding gift. Funny how you never noticed that detail." I walked past them, head high despite my shaking hands. At the doorway, I turned back. "Oh, and Chase? I'd start looking for a good lawyer. One that doesn't work for your father." Their protests followed me down the stairs, but I didn't stop. My phone was already in my hand, texting Jenna. "It's worse than we thought. Meet me at your office. Bringing evidence." The emergency room's fluorescent lights made everything look harsh and unreal. I sat on the examination table, my mother clutching my hand while the doctor checked my blood pressure for the third time. Still too high, she said, frowning. How long have you been experiencing these headaches? Just the past few days, I lied. My mother's grip tightened. She knew better. The headaches had started right after I confronted Chase. My phone buzzed again, the 20th message from Chase since I'd left the house. I ignored it, just like all the others. The doctor cleared her throat. Mrs. Bennett. Harper. I corrected automatically. I'm going back to Harper. MS.
Harper, then.
Your blood pressure is concerning, especially at 24 weeks. I'm recommending bed rest for at least a week. A week. The merger vote was in 5 days. I can't, I started, but my mother cut me off. She'll do it, Lorraine said firmly. At my house. My phone lit up with a new message, this time from Leonard. Think about what you're doing to this family. Chase is devastated. Let's talk about this like adults. The doctor left to prepare discharge papers, and my mother finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me it was getting this bad? Because saying it out loud makes it real. I pressed my hands against my belly, feeling my daughter move. Did you know Chase was working with Carlton Industries even before Dad got sick? They were planning this takeover for months. That's why you need to step back, she said. Let Jenna and the lawyers handle it. Focus on my granddaughter. A knock at the door made us both jump. Chase stood there, still in his suit from work, looking appropriately concerned. The perfect worried husband. Thank God, he said, stepping forward. When the hospital called, get out. My mother's voice could have frozen hell. I have a right to be here. That's my child. The child you were willing to use as a distraction while you stole her inheritance. My mother stood, all 5 feet 4 inches of pure fury. The same child whose stress levels are endangering her life because of your schemes? Chase's facade cracked slightly. Willa, please. Whatever you think I did. I found the offshore accounts, I said quietly. The words dropped like stones in the sterile room. Dad suspected something was wrong before he died. He hired investigators. That hit home. Chase's face went blank, his tell when he was truly rattled. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the email I'd received that morning from Dad's lawyer. Want to see the transfers? The meetings with Carlton's CEO? Did you really think Dad wouldn't protect his company? Everything I did was for us, Chase said, but his eyes darted to the door. For our future. Mrs. Harper. A nurse appeared with a wheelchair. We're ready to discharge you. I'll get the car, my mother said, giving Chase a look that could strip paint. Once she left, Chase moved closer, his voice low. Think about what you're doing. One phone call, and I can make sure you never see a penny of your inheritance. I looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered how I'd ever mistaken his confidence for strength. One phone call from me, and the SEC will have those offshore accounts. Want to test which call does more damage. The nurse waited patiently, pretending not to hear. Chase straightened his tie, another tell. This isn't over. You're right, I said, letting the nurse help me into the wheelchair. It's just beginning. As I was wheeled out, my phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. Found something big in the merger docs. Chase isn't the mastermind. Someone else has been pulling the strings. I closed my eyes, suddenly exhausted. One battle at a time. First, I needed to protect my daughter. Then I could focus on finding out who had really orchestrated my father's company's downfall. Ready to go home? My mother asked as we reached her car. No, I said, thinking of the house I'd shared with Chase, filled with expensive furniture and empty promises. But I'm ready to start fighting back. 3 days into my stay at my mother's house, Leonard Bennett showed up unannounced. I watched from the upstairs window as he charmed his way past the housekeeper, briefcase in hand, wearing the same expensive smile he'd used to convince my father to hire Chase 5 years ago. You don't have to see him, my mother said from behind me. Actually, I do. I smoothed my shirt over my growing belly, but not alone. 10 minutes later, Leonard sat across from me in my mother's study, with Jenna beside me and my mother standing by the fireplace like a sentinel. This situation has gotten out of hand, Leonard began, opening his briefcase. I have a proposal that could benefit everyone. Like the proposal to sell my father's company behind my back? I kept my voice steady, remembering Jenna's coaching. Leonard pulled out a document. Carlton Industries is offering to keep the current management team. Your father's legacy would remain intact, while Chase gets his commission and you clear gambling debts. The words hit their mark. Leonard's smile flickered. Did you really think Dad's investigators wouldn't find those too? Now see here. Leonard started to rise, but my mother's voice cut through the room. Sit down, Leonard. You're not dealing with some naive socialite anymore. He sat, adjusting his tie. Chase loves you, Willa. This pregnancy, the stress, you're not thinking clearly. Actually, Jenna interjected, sliding a folder across the table. She's thinking very clearly. These are cease and desist orders for you, Chase and Maureen. Any further attempts to contact Willa will result in harassment charges. Leonard's facade cracked. You ungrateful. A knock at the door interrupted him. The housekeeper entered, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but Mrs. Bennett is here. She's quite insistent. Before anyone could respond, Maureen burst in. Mascara streaked down her face. How could you do this to Chase? He's been suspended from the firm. The firm suspended him because he violated ethics protocols, Jenna stated flatly. That's what happens when you conspire to defraud shareholders. We were trying to help. Maureen's voice rose hysterically. That company is dying. Chase was saving it. By secretly working with both sides of a hostile takeover? I stood, anger finally breaking through my careful control. By using my father's death as an opportunity? Your father was a fool, Leonard snapped, showing his true colors at last. He could have sold years ago, made us all rich, but he was too stubborn. Get out. My mother's voice could have cut glass. Both of you, out of my house. This isn't over, Leonard threatened, gathering his papers. You have no idea what you're up against. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone. I do. I played the audio I'd just recorded. Leonard's face went pale. You can't use that. Watch me. I stepped closer, letting him see the fury I'd been containing. You used my father's death, my pregnancy, my trust, all of it. Now I'm going to use everything I have to make sure you, Chase, and everyone involved pays for it. After they left, Jenna touched my arm. You okay? Your blood pressure. I'm fine. I wasn't, but I needed to focus. What did you find out about Carlton Industries? Jenna hesitated. You were right. Chase wasn't the mastermind. The person behind all this. It's your father's old partner. The one who left the company 15 years ago. My mother gasped softly. James Carlton? But he and your father were best friends. I remembered James Carlton at our family dinners, teaching me chess, attending my piano recitals. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. He approached Chase 2 years ago, Jenna continued. Used him to get inside information about the company's vulnerabilities. I sank into a chair, one hand on my stomach. My daughter kicked, as if sensing my distress. So Chase wasn't just greedy. He was a puppet. A willing puppet, my mother reminded me. I looked at the chess set in the corner, the one James Carlton had given me for my 16th birthday. Then it's time to cut his strings. I turned to Jenna. How quickly can you set up a meeting with the board? Willa, my mother warned. The doctor said to avoid stress. I stood, my decision made. Nothing would make me feel better than taking back what's mine. The Harper Industries boardroom felt colder than I remembered. Maybe it was the air conditioning, or maybe it was the way Chase sat at the far end of the table, flanked by James Carlton and a team of lawyers I didn't recognize. My father's empty chair at the head of the table seemed to watch us all. Before we begin, James Carlton said, his familiar grandfatherly smile now seeming predatory, I want to acknowledge Willa's presence. Douglas would be proud to see you taking an interest in the company. Interesting choice of words, I replied, considering you're trying to dismantle everything he built. Chase shifted uncomfortably. The board members, most of whom had known me since childhood, avoided my eyes. The merger is a lifeline, James continued smoothly. The market projections are manipulated, I interrupted, sliding folders to each board member. just like the company's stock price over the past 6 months. The room went silent. Chase's face drained of color. "That's a serious accusation," James said, his smile tightening. "It's not an accusation." I nodded to Jenna, who opened her laptop. "It's evidence. My father suspected someone was artificially depressing the stock. That's why he hired investigators before he died." Chase stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. Willa's pregnancy hormones." "Sit down, Chase," James snapped, showing the first crack in his facade. "Mrs. Harper, these conspiracy theories are documented in these files," I continued, "including your private meetings with Chase, the offshore accounts, and the shell companies you've been using to buy up shares." The boardroom door opened. My mother walked in, followed by 2 SEC agents. "What is this?" James demanded. "This," I said, standing despite my trembling legs, "is what happens when you underestimate a pregnant woman with insomnia and access to her father's files." What happened next seemed to move in slow motion. James lunged for Jenna's laptop. Chase shouted something about being set up. The SEC agents moved forward. Then pain shot through my abdomen, sharp and terrifying. "Willa." My mother's voice seemed far away. I gripped the table, spots dancing in my vision. The baby. Everything blurred. I was vaguely aware of being helped into a chair, of voices arguing, of Jenna calling an ambulance. "This is your fault," I heard Chase say. "If you hadn't pushed this." My fault. The pain made my voice shake, but the anger gave it strength. "You betrayed everything. Our marriage, my father's trust, our daughter's future. I did it for us." Chase's mask finally cracked completely. James promised me partnership, control of the merged company. We could have had everything. Everything except integrity. I gasped as another pain hit. James Carlton's smooth voice cut through the chaos. "This meeting is clearly over. Given Mrs. Harper's condition, the meeting continues," my mother announced. "The SEC has what they need, and Willa has signed proxy powers to me in case of emergency." I wanted to smile at the shock on their faces, but the pain was getting worse. The paramedics arrived, asking questions I could barely focus enough to answer. "The baby's going to be fine," Jenna whispered, squeezing my hand. "But you have to let us handle this now." As they wheeled me out, I caught a final glimpse of the boardroom. Chase stood frozen, watching me leave, his ambitions crumbling around him. James Carlton was already in handcuffs, his grandfather act replaced by cold fury. My mother sat in my father's chair, her spine straight as steel, facing down the men who had tried to steal our family's legacy. In the ambulance, between waves of pain and fear, I thought about my father, about integrity and legacy, and what really matters when everything else falls apart. "Your blood pressure's too high," the paramedic said. "Try to stay calm."
Stay calm.
While my marriage imploded, my father's company hung in the balance, and my baby's life might be at risk. I closed my eyes, feeling more alone than ever. "Dad," I whispered, "I could really use your help right now." 3 days after my hospital scare, I sat in my father's home office, surrounded by the life he'd built, when Chase walked in unannounced. He looked terrible, unshaven, suit wrinkled, the polished facade completely gone. "You shouldn't be here," I said, one hand protectively over my belly. The doctors had managed to stop the premature labor, but every moment still felt precarious. "James Carlton was arrested this morning." Chase's voice cracked. "The SEC is freezing accounts. They're calling it the biggest corporate fraud case in the state's history." "I know." I kept my voice steady. "I signed the final statements an hour ago." He moved closer, desperation rolling off him in waves. "Willa, please. I can explain everything. Can you explain why you were working against my father while he was dying? Why you used our marriage, our baby, as cover for fraud?" "I did it because I was scared." The words exploded out of him. "Do you know what it's like being married to Douglas Harper's daughter? Nothing I did was ever good enough." I stared at him, really seeing him for the first time. "So you decided to destroy everything he built." "I decided to prove I could be more than just your husband." Chase ran his hands through his disheveled hair. James promised me control of the merged company. Real power, not just reflected glory from the Harper name. And now you have nothing. We could still fix this. He knelt beside my chair, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. The prosecutors are offering a deal. If I testify against James. Stop. I opened my father's desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. I found this in Dad's safe. It's dated 2 days before he died. Chase went very still as I unfolded the letter. Dear Willa, I read aloud. If you're reading this, then my suspicions about Chase and James were correct. I'm sorry I won't be there to help you face this, but I know you're stronger than anyone realizes, including yourself. Willa. He knew. I continued, my voice gaining strength. He knew what you were doing, but he wanted me to discover the truth on my own, to learn to trust my instincts. Your father was a stubborn old man who built something real. I cut him off. While you and James were plotting to steal it, he was teaching me how to protect it. Chase stood, his facade cracking completely. So that's it? Everything we had means nothing. It meant everything to me. I placed my father's letter back in the drawer. That's why your betrayal worked so well. The company will still fail without the merger, he said, a last desperate attempt. You're throwing away your inheritance out of spite. I smiled for the first time. Actually, while you were busy with your schemes, I was talking to our European partners. They're investing in a complete modernization of our production lines. The board approved it this morning. The color drained from his face. But James said they weren't interested. James lied, just like you did. I stood carefully, one hand on the desk for support. The divorce papers are with my lawyer. So is my statement to the SEC. You're really going to do this? His voice turned cold. Destroy me? The father of your child.
No, Chase.
You destroyed yourself. I walked to the door, then turned back. My father left you a message too. It's in the envelope. I waited while he opened it with trembling hands and read the single line. I gave you a chance to choose integrity. You chose greed. Chase crumpled the paper, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him. Willa, wait. Goodbye, Chase. I stepped into the hallway where Jenna and my mother waited. The SEC agents are in the living room. They'll want to talk to you about those offshore accounts. As we left, I heard Chase calling my name, his voice echoing through the house where I'd grown up, where I'd fallen in love, where I'd finally learned to stand on my own. Are you okay? My mother asked softly. I touched my stomach, feeling my daughter kick, strong and determined, just like her grandfather. I will be. We both will be. 6 months later, I stood in my father's office, now my office, holding my newborn daughter while watching Harper Industries' stock price climb on the digital display. The European partnership had exceeded everyone's expectations, and the company was stronger than ever. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, Jenna said, then smiled at the baby. How's little Douglas doing? She prefers Dougie. I corrected, adjusting my daughter's position. And she's helping me review quarterly reports. The newspaper on my desk caught my eye, a small headline about Chase's sentencing. 3 years, reduced from 5 for his testimony against James Carlton. His parents had fled to Florida, leaving behind a wake of unpaid debts and broken relationships. Have you read his letter? Jenna asked, noticing me looking at the paper. I nodded toward the unopened envelope on my desk. Chase's handwriting, once so familiar, now looked like a stranger's. Some things are better left unsaid. My mother appeared in the doorway, impeccably dressed for her role as interim CEO. Ready? The modernization proposal needs your final approval. As I gathered my things, a photo fell from my father's old diary, Dad and me at my first piano recital, both of us beaming. Behind it, in his handwriting, success isn't about winning, Willa. It's about knowing what's worth fighting for. He would be proud, my mother said softly, not just of saving the company, but of how you did it. Without revenge, I added, understanding finally hitting me. That's what he wanted me to learn. Anyone can destroy things. Building something better, that's the real victory. The boardroom looked different now. New faces mixed with old, the company evolving while keeping its core values. As I took my seat, Dougie sleeping peacefully in her carrier beside me, I thought about cycles of betrayal and redemption, of endings and beginnings. Before we start, I said, addressing the board, I want to announce a new initiative. We're establishing the Douglas Harper Foundation for Ethics in Business. Full scholarships for students who demonstrate integrity and innovation. I saw approval in the older board members' eyes, understanding in the new ones. This was how you built a legacy, not by tearing others down, but by creating opportunities for something better. After the meeting, I found another note from my father, tucked inside his old desk calendar. The hardest part of success isn't achieving it, it's deciding what kind of person you want to be when you get there. My phone buzzed with a text from Maureen. Chase asks about the baby. Please, just one photo. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges stay burned, not out of hatred, but because building new ones serves us better. MS. Harper. My assistant appeared. The new production line supervisors are here for training. And your mother mentioned something about piano lessons for when Dougie's older? I smiled, remembering Sunday afternoons at the piano with Dad, his patience as I learned each note. Schedule both. And add weekly ethics seminars for all management levels. Later, as I drove home with Dougie, I passed the house where Chase and I had lived. New owners had painted it, planted different flowers, changed it into something new, just as I had changed my father's company into something that honored his values while facing forward. At a red light, I finally opened Chase's letter. Inside was a single line, I'm sorry I chose wrong. I let the wind take it through the car window, watching it disappear into the evening sky. Dougie stirred, her tiny hand gripping my finger with surprising strength. Ready to go home, little one? I asked, thinking of the piano waiting in our new house, of Sunday afternoons to come, of lessons about integrity that can't be taught with words alone. The light turned green, and we moved forward, leaving the past where it belonged, not forgotten, but transformed into something wiser, stronger, and ultimately more valuable than revenge could ever be.